CoCoTALK is an unscripted live broadcast. Anything can and will happen. The views and opinions expressed by members of the panel and the live audience are their own and not necessarily those of the CoCoTALK show, its sponsors, affiliates, or subsidiaries. Open minds encouraged, sense of humor recommended. If any off-color comments were made, we're sorry.
Hi, this is Dale Lear, designer of TRS-80 Color Baseball, and you're listening to CoCoTALK.
This is CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color computer. It's time to drop your socks and grab your real-time clocks, and let's rock.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
All right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to CoCoTALK, episode 121. I can tell you what, history is repeating itself because we are going to be live today at Radio Shack. Who's excited? I'm excited. Come on, man.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
All right, we're here, everybody. We are here, and I tell you what, we're just going to jump in. We're not going to waste any time right now on small talk, on panel introductions, on any of that crap, because we've got something really excited. Not only are we looking at Joe Burnett right here, which is exciting enough as it is, but over his shoulder, behind Joe, there's a big red R and the words Radio Shack. So I'm not sure where you are, Joe. Joe, can you fill us in, our live correspondent? Joe, where are you now reporting live?
I am in front of Radio Shack in Keller, Texas. This is their grand opening week. I've kind of been, biting my nails, getting ready, for the weekend to get up here and go in. And, spoilers, I've already gone in and taken a tour. I'm even more excited now to share it with you than I was coming up here. So, if y'all are ready for the tour, I will walk you up there and show you around.
Excellent. Yeah, do that. And those who are not Joe Burnett right now, if we can mute some of ourselves, because I'm hearing some like microphone grating noises right now. So let's do a little bit of self-muting while we... here we go. We're walking up.
Okay, I got to wait for the cars to go by, but hopefully you can see the sign.
Yes.
There. I'm going to walk up towards there. Hopefully I don't get run over by any cars. This is a grand opening weekend, so all along the streets, out here in the shopping center, we have grand opening signs now open. In the front of the store, we've got grand opening. And what you'll see when I first go in, we have a raffle table because they are giving away a big 65-inch screen TV.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going to try to not...
Looks like there's a decent number of people here.
There are. There's the TV that they're giving away.
Nice. It's not a realistic brand, though.
No, it's not. Maybe that's in the future. So we've got refreshments.
They got Pepsi, too.
Oh, look at that. It's an R2-D2 looking dude, a green one.
Yeah, he's been running around outside, so they must have had to round him up to come in. So what I'm going to do, there's a lot of people in here. I'm going to walk back towards the back of the store and kind of show you, start walking this way forward. And I'm trying to be as unobtrusive to the customer shopping around as possible, because of course we want them to do well.
Yeah,
he's going back where the CoCo 3s are.
But yeah, this is one of the exciting things that I found.
Fuses, electronics,
the 4-stem mem books.
Nice.
And they're planning on bring some back. So yeah, right into that.
Arduino.
No. And I don't know, I posted on the Facebook group. I don't know if how many of you may have gone out and looked on the webpage. that was advertising the grand opening, but they actually had a soldering station earlier this week where they were teaching people how to solder.
Oh wow!
Keep Curtis and I away from the soldering station.
There you go.
That's
soldering irons.
That's what Ed Snyder uses.
I need one. Can you pick one up for me? I can do some soldering on my CoCo too.
This is exciting.
It's interesting that they actually have automotive batteries, car batteries. I don't think they had that previously.
I don't think so either. Yeah.
And I don't want to get in trouble stepping behind the counter here, but here, this should give everyone some excitement as well. You see the Radio Shack branded
batteries. Nice.
Yay!
Yeah.
Now, are they going to honor the Battery of the Month Club cards?
Well, I've already asked about that, in some of the preliminary questioning, and I'll keep you in suspense.
Okay, there we go.
I'll let you know. So yeah, there's a lot of people in here.
Does it smell like electronics in there? That's what I want to know.
It smells like awesomeness. That's all I can say. Love it.
Smells like victory.
Smells like victory.
Here is a sample of the maker gear that they have.
STEM and robotics. Cool.
Oh, okay. Huh. So they're very STEM and hobbyist friendly, and that is one of their goals to be.
Are they going to have pies for sale?
They are.
Yeah.
They are. And I didn't really make the grand tour earlier. I don't take those, but I know they have them. They also have Adafruit.
Is this store represented online?
Not the specific store, but I was told the things can be purchased on RadioShack.com. The T-shirts are available there, with the exception of the polos. You only get those in the store. They do have, let's see, walk around here. Radio Shack, we always went in and looked for our integrated circuits and sensors and things like that. So they actually do still have those.
Do they have any gimme chips on any of those shelves there?
I'll look. Maybe. No.
Even a 6847, maybe SAM chip, salt chip.
Take a look here. The nice thing is
on salt chips.
Everything is really well sorted, really well organized.
And from the look of the prices, $1.99 for I mean, it seems like the prices are reasonable.
6309 socket.
6309 socket right there. There you go. Bring in your CoCo to the solder station, and they'll put in a 6309 for you.
You know what? These gold plated and $50 because this isn't the Radio Shack that I remember.
I don't know. I haven't had enough time to
ambient light sensor.
Very affordable.
Sensor. Yeah, I mean the prices are good, so it's not like the old days where they were like 10 times higher than what the rest of the world was.
I remember even here in Australia back in the 80s, like a single 4000 series CMOS chip was like $2 a packet.
Do they have a 555 timer?
Yeah, now I'm familiar with that one too. A lot of good projects. They've got 556. It looks like.
Ooh.
Oh, a dual timer. That's a dual 555.
Dual timer.
So two for one, right?
Is that something you could make a real-time clock out of?
Oh, you could.
I already warned him about you guys in the real-time clock.
Did you really?
Yeah. I think
Application proceeds. That's awesome.
The thing is, I had the chance to talk to the two gentlemen. I'm going to get you an on-screen interview here in a little bit with them.
Wire.
But they're... Yeah, wire. Lots of wire.
Speaker wire.
Nice.
Antenna wire?
Intercom wire. All nicely labeled.
Hey, do they have any of those RF jacks that we can put on the back of our CoCo?
I don't know.
The adapter?
Yeah, they should.
I'm sure they would.
Coax to F type to coax adapter or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
RCA to F type, whatever.
That's it.
Might be over here with all the antenna accessories.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you got your wall plates here, so you can do
a lot of gold there.
A lot of gold. There's gold on their hills.
Look at that.
We got our coax splitters. These are the things.
R2D2 in the background.
That was R2D2. Okay, cool.
It was. Maybe we'll get a chance to have him perform here in a little bit. Of course, they've got contemporary products. I mean, they've got the TVs, they've got the sound bars. I mean, you go into a Radio Shack, you want to be able to get good stuff, recent stuff too. So,
Universal remotes.
America's technology store.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I saw an RCA breakout there, the yellow, red, and white RCA output.
Oh, yeah. Back over here with the TV stuff.
Yeah.
Is there a HDMI thing there? Converter?
Did they carry the switcheroo?
Yeah.
Right on the shelf.
Talk to Jason, get that in there.
Yeah.
Only in Uruguay.
System when you're there.
I think Ron was asking about the HDMI. Right?
Yeah, they have HDMI cables there, Ron. Is that what you're asking about?
No, converter box.
Oh, the SCART to HDMI converter box?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Probably
So
not a
check
large demand for that at a Radio Shack.
That's USB to
So notice
HDMI.
USB to HDMI adapter.
Yeah.
Radio Shack branded.
Radio Shack branded,
yeah.
nice.
So you have all of these things like an HDMI A to HDMI C adapter,
Okay.
swiveling, and then you have interesting stuff. Of course, you have the cable kits. But looky here. I mean, you don't see things like this when you walk in
What does this say?
to another store.
Satellite finder.
Satellite finder.
Oh,
Is this
okay.
letting you know when you turn your dish to the right angle to get the best signal or something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess so.
Yeah, right.
Interesting. It's got a nice
Daytime or
analog VU meter on there.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I thought it was an SWR meter.
Yeah.
So they have wireless accessories as well, of course.
Are there logos on those balloons?
That'd be a good souvenir.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm not going to do something to get myself thrown out of here, of course.
No.
But no,
Oh.
I don't.
But it's the official Radio Shack red, though, isn't it?
Yeah. There's some people over in the area here, but I'll take you over to.
Buds. They got buds.
Headphones and earbuds.
Buds.
So I've already identified one thing I'm going to be buying when I walk out of here today,
That.
and I'll show you. Let's see.
That is like Bluetooth speakers.
Yep, Bluetooth speakers. we've got
Skull Candy
headphones,
headphones. Okay.
A headset for CoCoTALK.
Yep.
Additional headphones.
Nice.
Man,
Yeah,
Great.
and lots of power options. Battery chargers.
Okay.
that's
Cases for automotive batteries.
Do they sell any antennas? Like on top of your house antenna? Like they
Is that a
used to?
drone right there?
This is a drone. Yep.
Wow.
You should have brought a CoCo with you as a joke.
You know what
Hellion.
would be neat is if at Christmas time they have the RC cars and stuff like they used to have back in the day.
Oh yeah,
That was a big thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
As long as they don't have those keyboards, those awful music keyboards.
Oh, listen, it's 80s revival. You want that? You got your realistic walkie-talkie there.
Yep. These are T-shirts, by the way.
Ah,
This is
that's
apparel.
nice.
What else you got?
Apparel.
What else you got?
Check it out.
I like the polo
Ooh.
shirts. Oh.
Yeah.
That's a
People
Star
will think
Trek
you work
red.
there if you wear that.
Yeah.
He does. The people you're going to see interviewed
black.
Yeah.
a little bit
red.
Hey, Joe, I'm going to PayPal you some money if you can grab me one of those while you're there today.
You got it. What size?
I'll tell you
Well,
off the air. I don't want people to know how plump I am.
All right.
Get him a small. Get him a small. I want to see. Quadruple X. There's my shirt.
You have a
Hey.
programmer's body.
Hey,
This is
there's
this
my
is one.
shirt. Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's what I want. Oh, one of them.
Yeah.
And they've got
one.
plenty of them. Now,
TRS 80s in the store.
I like the red polo with the white embroidery. That looks really good.
It does.
Do you
now the
guys
T-shirts
realize
are available online.
It says TRS 80 in the store.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably the
TRS
only
80.
place, right?
Yes.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Yep.
awesome. Stick that
This
in front.
this would be a great this would be a great
Front,
location for a retro computer club to meet. If you think about it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
There you go.
There you go.
All right.
Show us your tandies. Bring on, bring out your CoCos. Come on down.
This is not Trash 80. Come on.
No, definitely not.
This is gorgeous.
Well, as many of us that get online and are enthusiastic about it, can you imagine, the people who don't get online or aren't part of the community, that if these guys started getting the word out, that would kind of start coming out of the woodwork and then start to join us. And
I wonder if Tandy Towers are for sale.
I think somebody's in there. I think they're occupied.
Yeah, I think they are.
Bluetooth audio.
This is kind of just a survey of the store, and sorry if the phone is shaky or.
Yeah, no, this is great.
Do they have a bathroom in there?
Yeah, I think it's in the back.
Do you need a break run?
Ron needs a potty break already.
Commercial.
Ask them if they have adult diapers and if they can send some to Arizona. So.
Yeah.
I used to do window lettering for Radio Shack. Do they have banners in the windows or anything?
AM, FM radio. Oh, nice.
Yeah. Is that the old? Cool.
Those are good to have
transistor radios. Yeah, like in a storm, you want to be able to hear the.
I have one. Those are excellent to have.
Yeah, look, it's got the dial, analog dials.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, tuning in your radio, man. You got to turn the dial.
Again, Radio Shack brand.
Digital pocket radio. Who needs digital? Digital's a fad. Everyone knows the largest markets. Analog tuners.
Rather have
those old analog 6809s were better. Better than the digital 6809.
So that you saw the drones earlier, they do have a lot of RC.
Okay, they do have RC stuff. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Front and center in the window too.
Yeah, and you probably can't see the signage through the window.
Fix it here.
Something here.
Yep.
Fix it here.
Mobile device repair.
Oh, they're gonna do like an iFix repair type place.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. They have that on the entry. Let's see here. I think more power options. This is
Brian Weasler wants to know if any of the employees were alive when the CoCo was around.
Back in my day.
Oh, we have cool. CB radios. Oh my
sorry.
God, CB.
Breaker.
Yep.
Breaker
well, you saw those Midland walkie-talkies, right?
Yeah. The police scanners.
27 meg stuff.
Now, see, I used to have one of the Bearcat scanners. And I remember
with the crystals.
Yeah, no, it was touch button digital like this, but I remember I could hear the police back then. But back in the late '80s, early '90s, how we started getting cordless phones, in the house. And I still remember 46.610 megahertz to 46.970 megahertz was the frequency range that those things transmitted on. And
the old ones with the telescoping metal antennas?
Yep.
And you could basically eavesdrop on that channel.
CoCos are 1 megahertz.
So they do have home phone stuff too.
Okay.
For
splitters and all kinds of stuff.
Have POTS lines. So yeah.
Do they have an acoustic modem?
Yeah,
they probably got more. Probably have more phone accessories than actual landlines still exist in the United States. So.
Well, but services like Vonage.
You still need a phone to plug into that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And seniors and stuff, they're still used to the old-fashioned phones. So.
Yeah, exactly.
And some of us will be seniors soon. So.
They have any rotary dial.
Come to speak of that, do they have any hearing aids or anything?
Hey, what?
I don't think rotary dial even works. So
no, it wouldn't.
They just have buds.
And so we got some extension cords and some jack outlet extenders and stuff. I mean, these are all the things you would want to see in a Radio Shack. And this is the kind of stuff where instead of going into a big department store and having to go all the way to the back for a limited selection, you can go to a store like this and just have the things you need. And from what it looks like, the prices are reasonable. I think that's the biggest challenge right now. You're competing with the internet and you're competing with Walmart and Target and stuff, So as long as your prices are in the same ballpark, the convenience is great.
Yeah, before you go to Coco Fest, you go in the Radio Shack, get yourself a shirt, a pair of buds, and you're on your way.
Yeah. Hey, Lloyd Thompson wants to know if they have any of the science fair kits, like those 101 electronics kits for kids and stuff.
I
look
haven't-
cool.
Yeah, I had several. I still have. They used to have one called the microcomputer trainer. I still have that in my attic somewhere, and I looked up the processor on it. I think it has like 200 or 300 bytes of memory built into the thing. But I got that in the 8th grade, so that was like an 86.
Digital
somewhere there.
storage. Okay. Curtis is asking how they are price wise compared to something like Best Buy. From what we saw on a few things, they look like they're in the standard retail ballpark. Like, look at the price on an SD card real quick there, just to see. So we're looking at $10 for how much? Okay, so a 16 gig for $9.99. That's reasonable, right? So that might not be Amazon price, but that's still as good as you're going to get at Walmart or anywhere else. So
Double
Much
that
are those
for
DVDs down below?
did that say SD Wi-Fi adapter on there? The top left.
Yeah. It's just the adapter. You can put the small one in the larger.
No, it's right to the
factor.
right there. It says just to the right of that you're looking at now.
This one?
SD
Wi-Fi adapter.
with adapter.
Yeah.
I thought it said Wi-Fi adapter from a distance there. Okay. So that's the micro to the standard SD card. Okay. For a second I got really excited. Dude, if they got the Wi-Fi SD cards, that's
Well,
awesome.
if you buy it and throw it in the air.
Yeah, anything's Wi-Fi.
It's
If you throw it
airborne.
hard enough.
It's an airborne SD card. Clock radios.
Yep. Travel alarm clock.
They have any of the flippy ones, like with the like in Groundhog Day?
Let's see. I don't think so, but they have the
They're
ones,
all LCD or LED.
Yeah.
I don't see any
Flippy
cassette
ones.
tapes.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, cassette
Look at that.
Oh,
Cassette
far out.
tape.
Maxell too. Good stuff.
That's awesome.
Yep. Let's see. I think I've about covered.
You need a head
most
cleaning
of-
kit. Do you have a head cleaning kit?
A head cleaning. What about a demagnetizer too? A head demagnetizer tape.
Yeah.
Have they got the CCR 81s there?
Something caught my eye, and I came over here. I thought one of the cassette tapes had come loose, but actually it's just the ribbon on the balloon.
Oh.
You would have had to get out your pencil. You get out your
Yeah,
pencil and
grab a
coil it
pencil.
up.
Yeah.
Are you guys
Hey, let me
ready?
show you how it's done.
Let me switch over to my external speaker.
Yeah,
audio.
let's shake down these guys.
Can you guys hear me okay?
We can hear you. Yeah.
I don't know if I can hear you or not. 1 second.
This is exciting, man. I don't know why I'm so excited just to see.
No, this is awesome.
I mean, these are things that it's like I probably have one of everything already and I've been here at my house, but it's still so cool to see a store full of this stuff, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, this is so exciting. I'm in geek heaven
Just to
right now.
actually see Radio Shack alive is so cool.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So here in a few minutes, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go over and ask if I can get my interview.
Okay. Just give them
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, give them free advice and tell them do not get into the cell phone market.
Yeah.
Too late.
Yep.
What if that's their news? We have exciting news. We'll be getting
What
into
if you
stuff
could
like
go
that.
back in time?
Ooh, was that a multimeter over there?
Uh-oh. Mark B spotted a multimeter. Did you see one? Oh, that's a battery. That's a battery tester.
Oh, battery tester. Okay.
Free
Hey, what are
battery
they
checks.
giving away in the bowl?
That's a raffle to get a 65-inch TV or something.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe they're giving away
I
chocolate.
think they were going to give away the possessions of.
chocolate there?
Oh, look at that! I got brownies or
Take one.
take one.
Wow.
Take one for me on behalf
I have
of
that white thing right there.
That's a car adapter for a USB charger.
Yeah.
We got cookies,
Oh, man. I can
Pepsi,
smell 'em.
also. Pepsi's awesome.
Everything we need.
automotive. So not only can you get batteries for your remotes and stuff, but you get one for your car.
Hey, are they Radio Shack branded?
The batteries themselves.
Yeah. I see a lot of red.
Radio Shack, yes.
Yeah,
You have a Radio Shack battery in your car.
You know what? That would match my other computer's a TRS-80 sticker you have on the back of your car. Now you've got a Radio Shack battery under the hood.
I'd stop places and lift my hood.
Yeah, look at me, dude.
Oh, check this out, man.
Powered by Radio Shack.
Powered by Radio Shack.
All right. I have to drive down a Texas to get that.
Now
I could power my telescope with one of those.
Hopefully the quality of those car batteries are good enough to where you don't have to be in the car battery of the month club, right? So
Are you guys ready for the interview?
They're probably made by somebody we know.
Okay, interview time. Shh. Everybody be on your best behavior. Let's act like we're a professional show here.
Let me introduce all of you. Gentleman on the left, his name is John Lindsay. Oh, that's me.
Hey, guys.
On your left.
Yeah. And this is Kyle Thompson. Hey, guys.
Hey, can you hear us?
Yes.
We can.
Thanks for letting Joe take a tour of the store.
Not at all. Of course.
This is really exciting for us. We grew up in Radio Shacks.
We did too. We're excited as well.
Yeah.
We're happy you guys are excited. The more excitement we can get around the store and just the brand in general is just a win for everybody. So we're happy to. Joe can come in anytime. You guys, I know there's you mentioned there's some Australian people. There's some Canadian. You guys ever get to the Keller, Texas area? Come on in. Dallas.
Yeah. Right now we have people from Australia, Canada, and Denmark on our show right now with us.
Wow.
What kind of hours are you open?
You were listening in the back. Good Tandies, but we probably can't do that. But that was really funny. I like that.
What's that one?
That was really funny.
What was funny?
Show me your tandies.
Yeah, we're sorry about that.
Is there any Tandy names in the place? I mean, does Tandy show up anywhere? Probably not, huh? It's all Radio Shack.
No, it's pretty much transitioned to the Radio Shack.
Yeah.
The Radio Shack product.
Did someone in UK own the Tandy brand?
Yeah, it's Darren Grant owns. We've spoken to him.
Maybe they're going to start a Tandy store in the UK.
Tandy brand as well as I think Archer and a few other.
Are they going to do the realistic and all that?
Realistic is something that we have our eye on. Like bringing back as a premium audio line. Nothing set in stone now.
So how long have you guys been open right now?
So this store opened April 1st.
Okay.
And just so you understand the dynamics, I'm the general manager for the private ownership group that owns this store and plans to own many others. I worked for Radio Shack from 2000, the year 2000 to January of 2019. I worked with Kyle closely and Steve Mornesso, the CEO of Radio Shack, and I transitioned to this program so that we kind of had I guess you could say, an insider into opening these stores. And then Kyle here still works for Radio Shack Corporation with Steve, so we partner incredibly close. So I can speak to all the store stuff, and then he can speak to the future Radio Shack and what they can do to partner with us, and then I can speak to what we're going to do from a store perspective and that type of stuff. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like you guys are on the right track with what you have on your shelves right now. You're staying close to the roots of what Radio Shack was known for. It's looking like from what we saw here that your prices are in the ballpark of what you would expect a retail outlet to have. I would imagine any brick and mortar store right now, you have to worry about Amazon, and then you have to worry about Walmart, Target, Best Buy. So as long as you're in that price point, you have the convenience of having just what we need. If we need something electronic, we don't have to walk through a huge store to get to what we need. So I think, Radio Shack in its golden days, especially in the 80s, this is what they were best known for. People came in to get the doohickey they needed, and it was right there, and it was quick and easy. And then you had people working there who spoke the same language as them. Well, what do you need this for? What are you trying to do and stuff? So that's something that's going to be harder to find in any traditional retail establishment. So hopefully some of that expertise and personal connection will be back too, right?
That's what we're hoping for. It makes it, you speak of that knowledge, like of all these parts and pieces. It's not an inherent knowledge people know all the time. That's why we have the Force mentors to help teach. But, when you hire an employee, there's an extensive amount of training you have to go through from a store perspective. So when someone does come in and say, I need a 47 ohm resistor, they can actually take them to this drawer and find it for them. Or if they just bring in a resistor, they can read the color code.
Yeah.
All right, I got a question.
And then the pricing. And Kyle, speaks to this, but we were talking about this before. That's a never-ending game. You're absolutely right. Amazon is a tough competitor. It's a never-ending game we have to play, especially with the world of tariffs. As those come on and off, and more recently it's been on. We have to watch what we can do. We try to limit the impact to any sort of customer, even with tariff-based increases. But yeah, the pricing game is never-ending. There's 10,000 sellers, 10 million sellers on Amazon.
Yeah.
We just have to beat them all.
We have a ton of SKUs too, so.
Yeah, I mean, the old corporate philosophy was you had to have a 40% margin on something or it wasn't on a shelf. So, I mean, those days are gone, right? So.
Definitely some stuff we don't make 40%.
For sure.
All right, so guys, when you order your stuff into the store, does it come from places that manufacture for you? And they make other brands?
We do have third-party partners. If you've been, around the store.
Like, for instance, your batteries. They got Radio Shack on them.
Yes, we have a manufacturer in Asia that produces our batteries.
Oh.
Tech private brand. We bring them into our warehouse in Fort Worth and distribute them to our dealers. Of course, we sell through RadioShack.com.
All right, so you guys are the same umbrella as the website too.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so in Radio Shack, just to clear up, even with the 2017 bankruptcy with the restructuring, they maintained all their sourcing, all their sourcing Asia and domestic. So that purchasing team stayed around. So all these soldering irons, this type of stuff, same manufacturer, same quality, etc.
Yeah.
Now they did actually change to a higher quality solder.
Okay.
Which is fantastic solder. So the solder is amazing. They come out with new stuff like 1 pound spools.
Yeah, and this is a SKU we brought back, for example, made in the USA. So all of our solder is sourced domestically now.
Neat.
Same formula as the previous SKUs too. So extensive line of solder. I think we have 17 different solder SKUs now, different sizes, different chemical makeups.
But all the sourcing and all these products, it all stayed.
Right. When you guys have trucks deliver stuff, do you still have trucks that say Radio Shack on them and stuff?
No, Kyle's my truck.
You're right. I drive my little Chevy Cruze out here every now and then.
Yeah, we're I'm fortunate at the store. Again, I work for Radio Shack corporate. Kyle still does, so we're both in the Fort Worth area. So this store's just right down the street from the Radio Shack head office. So we're fortunate that when I place an order, Kyle can bring it to me, or I can just drive by and pick it up myself. So we don't have to have massive logistics for this location. Now they do have 500 other locations that they do send trucks and they'll ship tablets and whatever they do.
So how many stores are currently in existence?
So right now, this is our first store of its kind. So of course we went from 7,500 stores at our peak in 2000, down to 1,700 with General Wireless in 2017. We shut all the corporate stores, so 0. Now we're at one of our model stores now. But what we have retained through that is our nearly 500 dealer authorized locations that sell our products as well. Some of them even carry the Radio Shack brand, like a Radio Shack store. So,
very cool.
In addition, some of you guys have probably heard about our partnership with Hobbytown locations. We have about 80 different franchisees with Hobbytown that have brought in our products, sort of in a limited capacity. A lot of our hobby-related parts, solder, accessories, that sort of stuff. We're getting back on our feet. So obviously there's going to be holes here and there. We'll try to fill it where we can with third-party products until we get our partners in Asia shipping us stuff to read.
Do you guys have a target for how many stores are coming?
So on my group, they want to do multiple markets. This is the first model store. Again, partnering incredibly close with Radio Shack. I think we have the assortment where we want it, and you can see it's very busy. And so they want to do 30 to 40 stores in several markets. Those markets have been identified, but they haven't been communicated publicly.
Okay. Okay.
So as soon as I can, I'll
Well, hopefully Oklahoma City will be one of them.
do what?
Hopefully Oklahoma City will be one of them.
Oklahoma City.
I mean, possibly.
I'm in Phoenix.
But as soon as we can, we'll make that public.
If you get back to South Florida, I'd like to put in an application myself too. I did pretty well in computer sales back in the late '80s. So,
hey, are you guys
Much, have they?
are you guys going to start selling laptops maybe, or pads or something?
It's not really nobody really comes to Radio Shack for
We used to. I mean, I have an opportunity to sell it. I guess I can sell digital cameras and all that stuff. But my passion, and I know college shares this, it's the toys, it's the DIY and STEM. This location does a lot of on-site STEM classes.
oh, that's cool.
And build your own drone classes. So we just communicate on Facebook. People are like, hey, bring your kids, I'll teach you. I used to do maker fairs for the Radio Shack corporate office, and I did them all over the country, teaching learning to solder and the New York, DIY drones. So I have experience with that, and so is this crew. And so we'll just bring it in. You build it's free. They build a flash drive. We teach the basics of it, teach the safety, and then they leave usually buying the kit and the soldering iron, wanting to go build something.
Yeah, that's cool.
Isn't there also?
Fosters that passion, right? And then next thing you know, you see that kid probably 8 years later pursuing an electrical engineering degree.
Is the maker community kind of an incidental thing, or is that a focus for the stores? Are you going to be expanding that?
It's a personal focus for me.
Yeah, but isn't that a rising market?
But for this store particularly, I have a passion for it. Kyle has a passion for it. The brand is really reconnecting with makers DIY overall. And you can see it on the website as they bring in more and more. Like you mentioned this. I mean, 1 pound solder doesn't seem like a crazy SKU, but that was requested for a long time. It was never done until it requires a commitment to get back to this because people want that.
That's regular. That's regular 60/40 solder, I guess you're selling there.
Yep, just
regular
60/40.
Yep, so that's the Robin Core 60/40.
We have 6337, silver bearing, lead free, everything. So
it's great on a salad.
Can I ask something? Isn't hobbyism on the rise? Can anyone hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't hobbyism on the rise with people, starting with Arduinos and all these devices that kind of getting back to the basics and building their own things rather than
for sure. And we
buying stuff. Isn't it a growing market really? Aren't you at the right moment right now? Isn't that very optimistic?
Yep.
Potential markets that is growing.
Hey, when people come in, what is the first thing they kind of ask you or say to you? Like,
most of the time, they walk in the foyer and they say, "Wow, I've been in Radio Shack a while." that's kind of what I hear, and they're usually like, "Hey, you can tell me the gist of Radio Shack." I ask them if you want the 1 minute version. You want the 10 minute version. I can give you 2 hours.
Yeah.
But I just give them the 30-second elevator speech, about just since 2017, what the future is. I went through the bad times, good times, bad times again, from a home office perspective. So I kind of skipped past 2014, 2017, and talk about what the brain's doing now. With the growth and the hobby town, it's all the really cool partnerships. This store specifically, it's like, hey, a really cool thing I didn't mention to Joe. Again, this is local to the Radio Shack corporate office. It's been here for a long time. We had a ribbon cutting yesterday. We had over 40X Radio Shack. I had several of my mentors come in. People that worked with Lynn Roberts, people that worked with Charles Taney himself back at Taney Towers.
Wow.
All sorts of. There had to have been 500 years of Radio Shack experience in this building for the ribbon cutting. That was just, it was awesome to see. They have this brand that's been around since 1921. They're opening a store in 2019. And then you have people that, I can't say that here in 1921, but some of them, it seemed close. But the support we got from the community yesterday and just around the brand overall has been fantastic. So that was a long, winding story. But generally, I tell people, they want to know what's going on with Radio Shack. And they usually be very happy knowing that we're back. I mean, the people to come in seem excited about the store. Everyone has a Radio Shack store. They've been in it. If you haven't ever been in a Radio Shack, then that's crazy.
Yeah, I don't believe that nobody's ever been.
Yeah.
Hey, how did you guys find us? I mean, were you aware of us from before?
So, obviously, this is General Wireless. So once we downsized, just digging around and being a part of the Radio Shack groups on Facebook, sort of having our ears open, we became aware of like just the Tandy movement in general. For example, we saw an event, the Tandy Assembly, coming up in Ohio. That was something really cool. I reached out to them. Of course, we did a little sponsorship with them as well. We're sort of becoming more aware of the community and all the cool things you guys are making. Like you guys are still making hardware, software.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. Yes, we are.
It's that's crazy. It's moving to see that sort of passion.
Has any of this gone back to people who are in the corporate area there that know that there's crazy people like us?
Yeah, and I know I used to do social media for Radio Shack, and Kyle does it now, and that's the only reason I ever learned about this, because we're during the transition, we wanted to kind of talk about the brand a little bit, so we thought it'd be fun to do Throwback Thursdays and that type of stuff. So I started just doing research, and I was like, there was TRS-80 launch, and here's this, and I started doing all these throwbacks, and Kyle's learned so much more about it since then. That's kind of so much. I ended up on all these old catalogs and watching all these old commercials. I'm like, I didn't even best in. I was with the company for 18 years. I didn't even know some of that existed. So it's like the internet in general. It's a rabbit hole, right? Well, once you start one click, next thing you know, and like Kyle said, I think they're gonna they're learning more and more.
It's a weird feeling researching on a TRS-80 and seeing posts from 2019 people talking about.
And then you post it on the Radio Shack, social media, and then you see this beautiful response.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow.
Yeah, we got a couple of thousand people on the CoCo Facebook group, which is amazing.
I need a RAM upgrade done on my CoCo. Can I go ahead and bring that in, and you'll take care of it, or?
In-store
we got a couple of questions from the people watching us live right now who are chatting in. One of the questions was from Curtis in Canada. He's saying you have something about there's a teaching soldering booth set up on the tour. Are there plans to make teaching and or demonstrating a regular thing in the stores?
Yep, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. We already do it. We already do
okay.
it. We communicate via Facebook, social media. We do it about a week in advance. We'll have sign-ups in the store as well. This is Susan, my store manager.
Hi, Susan.
Hey, Susan.
Come on over.
She loves the art of solder. She's just as passionate about DIY STEM as we are.
Okay.
We set up a table, flame retardant tablecloth. We hook up our digital soldering irons, and then we just grab some solder. We provide, again, it's free. We provide all
That's
stuff.
Cool.
We have our PCB flashlight. That's our main kit. We also do some little PCB rocket ship type thing. So we do those frequently, and then every once in a while we do the DIY drone build kit.
Do you have anything like the old science fair 101 electronics home kits that kids to build their own circuits and lights and switches and stuff?
So it's on a list.
Okay.
That we plan on.
That would be cool.
Dipping our toes in the water. We have an
Arduino, I guess, could be a.
Yep, we have an puzzle. We have a few robotics kits. Putting together your own Arduino-powered robot driving around.
Do you do Raspberry Pi stuff?
Not Raspberry Pi yet. We've recently partnered with Adafruit to bring in some of their products to our RadioShack.com as well as the store. We have some stuff on display, not for sale just yet, still waiting on the stock to arrive. But that should be.
Adafruit will be pretty hard. They have some of the Circuit Express playgrounds, so wonderful.
Yeah.
Introduction has all sorts of sensors already built in. It's a great playground. Yep, it's a circuit playground.
Well, somebody asked, about laptops or computers like that. I mean, people are taking the Raspberry Pis and making computers, or put them into a laptop form factor. So, yeah, maybe the answer to that question is yes, in a way.
Yeah, this is going to be big.
Yep, I think so. a unique experience that you can't get in the other store.
Are you guys going to do the Battery of the Month Club?
If you bring in your Battery of the Month Club card, we'll slip you some batteries.
You slip us some batteries.
What about beach balls? We need Radio Shack beach balls.
This store does a loyalty program as well. Yeah. So you just sign up, and it's very similar. So like you can get a free pack of batteries with.
Okay.
You get a point for every $1 in a pack of batteries, and then.
Right. I think we've focused on building some more rewards that we haven't launched live yet.
But you got $5 coupons, $10 coupons, whatever it is, my free t-shirt. So we're still adding on to the loyalty program, but it's kind of similar to the Battery of the Month Club.
That's cool.
Right. We want to keep people coming back. That's the most important piece.
And build that connection with the customer.
Right.
Would you guys consider like letting a retro computer club come in there and have a club meeting once in a while, like inside a Radio Shack? I don't know if you have the room for it or not, but I think it'd be so cool to bring in some old computers and have them set up in a Radio Shack store that people can come in and see and touch and stuff.
If there's one local, like we
yes,
Joe might have showed it. This store specifically, absolutely. We have the large foyer.
Okay.
That I've kept open for classes and events. We reached out to the scouts and local the robotics and electronics team. Hopefully, with school starting, I can have a robotics team come in here and I'll provide them with space. I'll set up tables and I'll be like, hey. Now, obviously, if I can't just give them soldering stations, we still have to run a business, but I will provide them a space and if there's a local robotics club, that'd be fantastic.
Well, I think the story that a lot of us have is very similar. Where when I was a 12-year-old kid, I lived in my corner Radio Shack store. I mean, I was that kid that wouldn't go away. But the store managers were, I don't know if it was deliberate or not, but they didn't see us as a threat or as a problem. They saw us as somebody to nurture. And my story was I grew up in that store. I grew up on the first black and white TRS-80. I grew up on the first color computer. When I got old enough, that was my dream job. I ended up working at the Radio Shack that I grew up in as a kid, and I sold a spit ton of computers because I was the computer expert at that point. I had been living that world for like 6 or 7 years, and I can't tell you how many Tandy 1000s and color computers I sold and the City Line credit card deals that I put through. And there was a culture that Radio Shack had that nurtured people who wanted to get into something, the computers or the electronics or something like that. And you didn't get that at Sears. Nobody hung out at Sears to learn how to use the Atari, but we hung out at Radio Shack to learn how to use a Tandy or a TRS-80 computer. And it launched careers. Like I'm an IT guy because I grew up on a Tandy computer. So I'm hoping that culture is something, it sounds like you're doing that, and it would be great to see a next generation of people who hung out at the Radio Shack that got into a field of work.
Your career started because that Radio Shack manager took the time to, again, foster that DIY.
Yeah.
That mentality, again, I know the Radio Shack brand, the home office. I know that's what they're doing. I know that's what I'm committed to. I was similar. I was a musician. I was telling Joe I was a musician. I wasn't really into computers, but always had to change the pickups. Always messing with my electric guitars, learning to solder and stuff. And then the next thing I know, I was always hunting by 9 batteries from pedals. So next thing I know, I just got a job there, just like you did. I just got a job there.
Yeah.
This is easy. I'll be part-time, and I can be a part-time, and I can be a musician, and then I can get almost free 9-volt batteries. So, they're like so cheap with the employee discount, and then it was just working. Next thing I know, 19 years later, doing an interview with the CoCo world, and
how you guys can tell you're doing good.
Still love it. So
how you can tell you guys are doing good is if you have you come in the morning and there's a lot of nose prints on the windows. Prints. That's what I used to do, is go along and press my face against the window trying to look at the computers.
One thing that would be kind of good for Radio Shack is, the internet, when it came out, tried to kill Radio Shack almost. If Radio Shack could embrace it, like with the maker community and your soldering station, have like a project of the month, has a list of all Radio Shack components that the kids could come in and do, maybe that would be kind of cool.
So we actually, the it's a fantastic idea. We have this.
Look at that.
We just got our sign. Now we have a list of projects with the components, and with the exact components, and we're going to do exactly what you talked about. We don't have it set up yet. We were getting ready for the grand opening. The signage came in kind of last minute.
That's
cool.
Next month it's a nuclear reactor.
It'll be a
Flux capacitors.
How to build a guitar pedal, how to build, a theremin, how to build whatever you want to.
That's cool.
How to build a flux capacitor.
Yeah, to get it, I don't know how to build one of those yet, but we'll get it.
Yeah. You got the batteries.
But yeah, we're gonna do exactly what you're talking about. We'll make it a bundle, and then we'll change it monthly. Carl and I have a list. Yeah, we just got the sign 3 days ago. So.
Right. We mostly get to stuff like Arduino-based projects, just basic starting courses.
Ideally,
we don't expect our employees to be, electrical engineers, but we want them to at least know the basics and help.
Ideally, it would be beginner and intermediate, right? So
yeah.
you have no real-time clocks.
There are also many YouTube channels that have these little tutorials and programs, projects. Like anyone who's seen the Ben Eater guy on YouTube, he's amazing.
Yeah. Well, and there's Instructables. Radio Shack had a whole lot. We had actually a large website on Instructables that had all sorts of projects. And if you go onto the Instructables website, almost all of them say, it's Radio Shack part number 271 0341. And like it has, it just lists the Radio Shack that became synonymous with obviously.
Awesome.
So cool. That's what we're going to be using, and that's what we hope to get back to, and putting up Instructables, and also provided an in-store.
Building new kits too.
Building new kits, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we certainly appreciate all your time. I don't know if we're taking you away from more important business, but I want to respect your time.
It's been a crazy weekend. It's been a busy store.
Yeah.
With a grand opening, and I appreciate y'all taking the time. I'm glad y'all excited.
What can we plug for you right now? What's the Facebook group, and is RadioShack.com is the website, right?
RadioShack.com is our website. We have a Facebook group for Radio Shack at Keller Town Center. Obviously, we have the Radio Shack main Facebook page. John posts on the Keller store page. I post on the National Radio Shack page.
Okay.
Make sure you like us.
Yeah.
Follow along with what we're doing.
Yeah, follow both. You can see, Kyle does really cool, like I said, from the national page, like what they're doing as a brand and how they're growing, and then you can see kind of what's going on in the store with the learning solders and when we do that type of stuff. And hopefully, send someone our way. Hopefully, you'll see some robotic groups. Hopefully, you'll see some.
Yeah.
Some teams in here, or even like you said, a retro computer group that comes in.
Yeah, I think we're going to try to arrange a pilgrimage. We're going to get all of us together, and we're going to come there. We're going to ride camels and stuff, and be like coming to see baby Jesus in the manger when we come to Radio Shack at us. The wise men are returning, so this would be awesome.
Buried resistors, capacitors, and
y'all make it like. Let us if y'all even are on the way. Let us know. We'll roll out the carpet. We'll find something cool. On the grand opening so far, the furthest someone's traveled is from Georgia.
But by the way,
that's a pretty good way. Pretty good ways.
Yeah.
We have North Oklahoma. So if someone comes from out of country, you would definitely be the furthest distance travel.
From what we heard, we know that you guys will go far.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah, well, you should reach out to the 8-bit guy. He's also on YouTube, and he's in Texas also.
Yeah, Dave Murray, the 8-bit guy, is in Texas.
Dave Murray, yeah.
Area.
You should do an episode on this.
With LGR.
Oh, excellent.
I hope you got a chance to reach out to him. I don't have a contact for 8-bit guy.
He was on here a few weeks ago.
We have a contact for him. We're not as big as those guys you mentioned. We're really small and insignificant, but we can definitely still reach out.
We're growing. We get new people all the time on our website that just grab the CoCo 2 and they're all excited.
Yeah, I mean, we focus mostly on the color computer, and it was the underdog machine of the 80s. Of all the 8-bit computers, the Tandy CoCo was the underdog. So,
are you guys familiar with the CoCo at all?
I played around with a Model. I think it was the Model 2. We had one. So I come from a dealer store, a little south of Houston, Texas. We had one in the back room that I would occasionally play around with. We had a few software programs, calculator or something. But it was just so cool just to play around with it.
Did he say spectaculator?
Really dive in, to the intricacies of it. But
my experience was, and then the CEO, the executive boardroom, we had TRS-80 set up, but I didn't know how to work it. So.
Yeah. Well, I think you guys are doing the right thing. You're focused on what you're good at and what people need. You're not trying to spread yourself too thin and provide a little bit of everything. It seems like you definitely this is the focus Radio Shack should have maintained all along. And I think when they started to become a cell phone store and an everything store, is when the things started probably falling apart. So I mean, I wish you guys, all of us wish you guys nothing but the best success. We've all grown up on Radio Shack. We wish Radio Shack didn't go away. We're glad you're back. We hope, and honestly, it's almost better to have a small, gradual, organic growth than try to spread out to 500 stores. And, I'm sure the shareholders don't want to hear that. But as far as the long-term success, you don't want to get too big too fast,
One step at a time.
Yeah. But even if it was one store, if you guys just survived, it's really hard to survive in a physical location nowadays with the internet and everything else. So
we got it.
The one thing I found as an electronics guy, building and designing electronics projects and whatnot, is you can buy a lot of the stuff online, but it's always a bit of a gamble online. Whereas, the one thing I like about, we've got a local store here called JCar Electronics in Australia. I don't know if you're familiar with JCar at all, but it's sort of along similar lines to what Radio Shack was here as well. But when you go into one of these stores and you buy components from the store, you're getting something that's going to work. You're not getting a dodgy component or something that's going to be a fake transistor.
Responsibly sourced product, consistent.
And sometimes you run into, I've seen this online. It's you roll with 500 resistors. I mean, you may have used 2 in your life without a specific, ohm rating. You definitely don't need to roll with 500, so it's just wasteful. It's easy to get a pack 5. You use 2. That's a specific project, and then you have 3 extra, but you don't have 498 extra.
Exactly. And walk to the store and grab the ones you need.
Grab the ones you need, build your project. That's exactly what I said.
Yeah. Well,
I think if they open another store sometime, they can come on again in a different place or something.
Yeah, we would love to be able to help be part of any new grand opening you have in a new building.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll
awesome.
follow the group. I'll see there's a Facebook page.
And hopefully, and we have we have our correspondent here with you, so so Joe can stay in touch with you guys, and that'd be great. Yeah, I want to come out and see the store as soon as I can, because I say I grew up in Miami, and my neighborhood Radio Shack store was where I hung out when I wasn't at school. I was hanging out in Radio Shack. It was my heaven. It was my utopia. So.
We'll need to refine and grow and make it a place everybody.
I think we'll get to Miami at some point.
Yeah. Awesome. I myself don't want to take any more time. I appreciate it. Anybody else here have any more questions for the guys? Anybody in the audience got any more questions for him?
When is the CoCo 4 coming to store?
Oh, we want to know when the CoCo 4 is coming. So that's the machine that never.
Right. Somebody shared a mock-up of a Model 4 TRS-80.
Kowalski's, he's beautiful.
Oh, but I do have one question for you. Were you guys involved with Stranger Things when they had the mock-up Radio Shack store? Did they get a hold of Radio Shack corporate in order to do that for the Stranger Things stuff?
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool.
They communicated with Colin and I, and we provided it. We provided artwork, images, and that kind of stuff.
That's cool. That was great. Even though it wasn't a full store, it was like a little repair shop. It was great to see
Did
Radio
you get to
Shack
meet any
represented.
Of those? Did you get to meet the Hulk or anything?
Did we what?
Did you get to meet the Hulk?
No.
Hulk Hogan?
No, we didn't. We had I didn't get to meet him personally. The marketing team, they traveled out to a concept store.
Well,
California that they filmed that commercial at. But we did have some, a bunch of cardboard cutouts.
That's great.
Put them in the elevators so people would. They were life size, so you'd open it up and there's a life size hole. Elf in the corner. So we had a lot of fun with cardboard cutouts.
We'll need to send you a CoCoTALK cutout.
Yeah. Yeah, Joe, get some shirt sizes for these guys too. We'll send them some of our shirts, and I want to get some of your polo shirts. Those things look nice.
This is a trade. This is actually the only location to get the polos because this is what I put together for the store uniform. So
okay.
Yeah, get us some sizes, and we'll get you figured out.
Give me a size, Steve.
All right, I'm all right. Everybody, close your ears for 1 second. But I'm a 3X. So.
Yeah.
Black or red?
I want red.
Okay.
Yeah, that looks good. I like that. Thanks, guys.
They should get a tier.
Oh, no, what's that, Nick? Nick in Australia?
No, they should find a TRS 80 Model 1 and have that in the window. Just on display, just a bit of nostalgia in the window for anyone passing by.
We actually, Carl and I, again, you guys have great ideas. I feel like we could have built a store together. We want to, we need to get some credenzas. We have some glass cubes because we want to put up we have some retro flavor cube radios and some old realistic type stuff.
Nice.
Love to have the retro computers.
Yeah.
Just have it, up against the windows. People walk by and it's old and new, right?
Yeah.
We're honoring the past. We have some kind of safe summits in the Radio Shack warehouse, that we kept out of the auction and everything. So, but yeah, you guys are right.
That's great. Like a little museum display, like a little behind glass, you know what I mean? Like a little curio cabinet type thing or something. So
that's exactly what we want to do.
Yeah.
We already have
that's cool. That's cool.
Will it be a black or a silver year for the audio components? Because they used to switch every year, remember? When you
black or silver year.
Red.
The audio components, like cassette players, and that 1 year they'd be black, and the next year they'd be silver.
I think we're trying to think right now of black and silver.
Go with red.
Hey, you guys! Next year is the 50th anniversary of the color computer.
40th.
40th.
No, it's the 40th.
40th.
That was fake news. Just check it.
Yeah. So yeah.
All right, guys. Anything else?
That's it.
Thank you for your time, and thank you for letting us be a fly on the wall here and see
this
the
was
store.
awesome.
You
guys are great.
You guys keep supporting us. We're gonna like the page, and then y'all like us back, and we'll do some T-shirt trades, and we're gonna figure it out.
All right, that's awesome, and thank you, Joe Burnett, for bringing this to us.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and draw it.
Yeah, give us your names again, guys, so everybody has that.
John Lindsay, Kyle Thompson.
Thank you, John and Kyle, and thank you, Joe Burnett.
My pleasure. All right, you guys have a good one.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot. Can we see the R2D2 now?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, did Joe hang up?
Yeah, it's gone.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Joe, don't hang up.
Well, that's a good segue.
Well, hopefully Joe
to
will.
A guy who makes stuff.
That was cool.
That was very cool. That was
Very,
very,
very
cool. So, yeah, I don't even know where to go from there. But we've had a lot of people in the live chat, and I have not been as much watching the chat as much as I was just watching the screen. So we did try to get to some of your questions for those of you in the chat. So thanks for being here, and thanks for being patient with us. But, man, that was better than I expected. I didn't know what to expect.
I have to agree.
Well, it helps that they were enthusiastic about.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's who you want to be in charge of a Radio Shack, is people who appreciate the heritage and the DNA and the core of what that store was all about. You know,
and they're young.
Yeah, and we've had some people join us now too. So Brian Schubring, the Music Man, is with us from the Glenside Color Computer Club. Hey, Brian.
Heidi ho. Hey, got a question for you guys.
Yeah.
September 21st is our club picnic. I was thinking that maybe do something with streaming on here for the club picnic too.
Would love if you could. You could just do a tap like what he just did, a phone. I think what Joe just did, Joe Burnett.
It's here at my house, so I've got my equipment. And
it's at your house.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome. I mean, you stream CoCo Fest, so might as well stream the picnic too. You're our satellite broadcast station.
Got it. Yeah, gonna have to cut out of here pretty soon because there's the Zerko's all-night flea market today. So
all right, and Paul Fiscarelli has joined us too. This is, I tell you what, I have like butterflies in my stomach. I got like goosebumps for me, and this is embarrassing to say, but that was really exciting for me to see that store. I don't know why. It's almost like, you know, when you think it's like you lost a loved one and somehow they're back. You know, I mean, it's like when you thought something was gone from history and it has returned.
Well, it's part of the whole CoCo story.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, if that's embarrassing for you, Steve, then it must be for the rest of us too.
This is a place where we don't have to be embarrassed about that stuff.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
My God. All right. Well, we did things backwards. We haven't done a panel introduction or anything else, but we're going to get to that. We have another special guest. We have Guru Santiago here. He's also going to tell us about new and exciting things in the world of CoCo. But how about we do this? How about we take a commercial break, and then we'll come back with we'll say hi to everybody who's here, and then we're going to hear about some cool new projects coming up for the CoCo. From Guru Santiago, and we'll hear what the panel's been up to this week and so much more after these words. Man, really, really, really cool stuff. I cannot tell you how tickled I am. How about we're going to start off with a little Nick Marentes on electricity, and then we'll do a commercial, and we'll be back after these words, everybody.
Nick Marionettes on electricity.
Crikey! Electricity's a fad. The biggest market is with open flame.
Brought to you by Nitrous 9, Ease of Use Edition.
Hi, it's Chris Boyle, part of the CoCoTALK crew of people.
Hey everybody, this is Bill Noble, co-author of Nitrous 9. You are listening to CoCoTALK Live, the leading live CoCo talk show.
Good day, mates. This is Nick Marionettes, author of such color computer titles as Donut Disaster, Rupert Rhymes, and Rockstar Pilot. And I am here today to tell you about the world's most fabulous operating system, OS 9. OS 9 and its current incarnation, Nitrous 9, is the most advanced operating system ever created. And what makes it so good? Ease of use. I find OS 9 so incredibly intuitive that I haven't once cracked open the user manual, and yet I've been able to create such incredible games faster than the time it takes to sing Waltzing Matilda. Using OS 9, I expect my next game, Funstar, will be done this weekend and distributed exclusively on ROM cartridge. OS 9 forever.
Any resemblance to actual events to persons living or dead is purely coincidental.
Radio Shack has a great gift idea for the whole family. Fast action TV games, and they're on sale. Get this 6-game model for $29.95 or the 4-game model for $21.95. With rising entertainment costs, that's a real bargain. You play hockey, tennis, squash, and more. Easy to hook up and great family fun that lasts all year long. The sale price TV games. Only at Radio Shack, a Tandy company.
Hi there, this is Mark Overholder, and you're watching CoCoTALK, the world's leading weekly talk show where you can join in. Hey, come watch us and see what's happening in the world of CoCo.
CoCoTALK is brought to you in part by Placeblex Dietary Supplement. Placeblex, we think it works, so will you.
CoCo2, c'est le coq champignon, des micros et dans le pion. Pour le jeu, il est pas battable, les études, c'est pas disable. L'expansion, il a ça, les commandes, tu vas voir ça. Notre CoCo est programmable, pour tes cours, c'est bien serviable. CoCo2 de Radio Shack, ton affaire est dans le sac.
Un ordinateur couleur qui a de la personnalité. Le CoCo2 de Radio Shack. On solde pour Noël à partir de $149,95.
CoCo2 de Radio Shack, ton affaire est dans le sac, c'est toi et CoCo2.
Hello, this is Grant Leedy with CoCoTALK. Got your CoCo 3 yet?
From the makers of the Switcheroo.
Wallaby cable, Color Computer 3 dual RGB cable. Get yours today at cocoman.biz.
Fletcher, I don't need that report tomorrow.
Great, JT.
I need it tonight.
But JT...
Fletcher saved $300 on her office away from the office. Radio Shack's revolutionary Model 100 computer. It's a word processor, phone directory, and dialer. It even communicates with the office computer.
Fletcher, how's that report? Fletcher.
Radio Shack's Model 100. Save $300 and put it to work.
You'll go far, Fletcher. You'll go far.
We now return you to CoCoTALK.
All right, we're back. Fletcher has gone far. I wonder if Fletcher's working at the new Radio Shack store. We'll have to wait and see when we take our trip out there. Oh, wow. So we've got a great panel with us today. And Rob, we missed you last week when we were doing our VCF West wrap-up show, but it was good to hear from Mark D. Overholzer, kind of getting the whole summary on the event. And thanks for what you did.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. I think Mark covered it pretty well. I did put together some photos that we can share, later in the broadcast. And if there's some of the stuff you've probably already seen, and some of it you haven't, including I did take some photos and video of the PDP-1 down permanent facility, and the IBM 1401 permanent installation, which I don't think you saw on CoCoTALK.
Okay, that would be very cool.
So, but I don't really have anything to add. Just it was just, exciting. I think the only thing I'm disappointed at, I heard Glenn Dahlgren is in the area and didn't know about the event. So
from
maybe
Systems.
Yeah, I think maybe in the future we've got to do a little bit of a geographic kind of circle and go, okay, who lives around this area that might have wanted to stop by. But other than that, we'll just talk about the photos later. I've got a whole bunch of questions for Guru Santiago. I'm really excited to have him here. And anyway, just that I'm recovered from the. I had 5 days of conferences in a row because I went from BCF West to a work conference. So
wow.
It was a long week. But I'm back on the CoCo beat and got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about later.
Yeah, it's been, and I can't thank you guys enough for what you did. You did an amazing job at VCF West. And these past 3 or 4 weeks, we've had all of this live coverage. We had VCF West live coverage. We just now had Radio Shack live coverage. It's amazing how much of this bonus content we're getting from the community, and everybody's reaching out with these events and contributing. It's really exciting, and thank you so much for doing that. It made for a great show. Not only did it help us have a good show with CoCoTALK, I think we did a good job representing the VCF event for those who have not seen it. So hopefully those who wanted to be there, who couldn't, enjoyed seeing it virtually, and maybe some people who were on the fence about going in the future, maybe they'll get off the pot and come next year. So
and I'm excited to be on the other side for VCF Midwest. So hoping to help out remotely and to be on the broadcast while everyone else is there.
Yeah.
We'll it'll be a team effort.
Excellent. And David O'Connor, the star of last week's show with his CoCo Does the Moog and everything else and his cool music. How you doing this week, David O'Connor?
Pretty good, actually. At 4:45 in the morning here in Adelaide in South Australia. So it's
crikey.
Yeah. Good to be back on the show again, and got a few updates for later on when we talk about updates and projects that we've been working on. So I've got a little bit to share about following on from last week's episode. So.
Excellent. And Ron Delvaux from Arizona, yes. And Ron asking all the good questions. Ron's always got a good question to ask. And how are you doing this week, Ron Delvaux?
Oh, pretty good. A lot better than last week when my back was out. But things are good. We're all recovered.
And I see we have a lot of Radio Shack shirts being proudly worn today on our Radio Shack Live episode. Good job, Ron. Good job, Mark B. Nick Marotta from Canada. How's it going, eh?
It's going really well. Thank you. This was, I very much enjoyed that first hour. That was so cool.
Yeah. And you guys had regular Radio Shack stores in Canada, right? They were called Radio Shack. And they
Radio Shack. Yep. It was, there was something about Intertan being a company. I'm not sure what that was about, but
that was a spin-off from Radio Shack.
But our Radio Shacks were genuine Radio Shacks, just like you guys had.
Okay. Excellent. We're glad to have you here. And all the way from Denmark, we have once again Fedor is back with us.
Yeah.
How are you, Fedor? And we did hear you, and I think he heard you too when you were asking your questions about the kind of the DIY movement. So
Sure.
I think they heard you, and
Okay,
I think they responded to you. So
yeah. No, I think it's exciting actually. I live in Denmark nowadays, but I grew up in Holland, and they had the Tandy stores. So I'm still hoping those Brits who own the Tandy brand, maybe they're going to set something up. I don't know.
yeah, man, we're glad you're here.
Yeah.
Did you
Glad to
have
be here.
Did you have Radio Shacks? Were there Radio Shack stores in Europe or UK or
Well,
anything, or was it more of a Tandy brand?
Yeah, well,
stuff?
as I said, it was Tandy. The brand was Tandy. Yeah, it was
Okay.
Tandy, but not in Denmark. No, yeah, Tandy were mostly in Germany, in France, Belgium, the Netherlands, or Holland, and but they were, and also in UK, but they in Australia also. But they were branded Tandy over there. I don't know why they chose for the Tandy brand, but it worked. So,
Okay.
yeah, so I grew up with a Tandy store in their own town, and got fun memories.
And was it like a multi-purpose electronic store too, with cables and adapters and connectors? Yeah.
Yeah, with computers and stuff. Yeah.
Excellent.
And hobby. I still have got some brochures. Actually, I think I copied some, put them on the Facebook page. I scanned some of them in.
Okay.
Some original Tandy Dutch Tandy brochures. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Mark Bosley made it back. Welcome back,
Yep.
Mark B.
Yeah, back for a little while. I'll have to leave a little later. But
Did you see any of the store as we're
Yeah,
in
I
our
think
virtual tour?
I think I missed about 10 minutes of it.
And I wish Joe
about the
didn't
rest.
hang. I wish Joe didn't hang up. Hopefully, Joe Burnett, if you're still out there, please jump back on Zoom. We want you back, whether or not you're in the store or not. But we didn't want you to necessarily hang up. I felt bad. I felt like I was holding those guys prisoner, so I was trying to be conscientious of their time and their other responsibilities to the store and their customers. But I hope Joe Burnett calls back, and I can't thank Joe enough for organizing this, doing that. So what did you think of the store, Mark? Did you like it?
Yeah. I'll have to take a pilgrimage down there.
Yeah, you're closer, Oklahoma. How long of a drive would that be for you?
Probably about 4 hours.
Okay, that's worth making. That's worth making the trek, right?
So that's I'll have to look it up where it is. I think it's it's in the Dallas area, isn't it?
Okay.
So about 4 hours from here.
Yeah. Terry Steggy driving through the nation. How are you, Terry?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good.
Stegen.
That was awesome to see. I'm very excited.
How far away are you from there, Terry?
I'm probably about 12 hours from there.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
if you're heading, let me know. I'll go there.
Yeah, the biggest problem for me is getting out of Florida. I mean, it's like a 6-7 hour drive to get to the Panhandle. Then I can cut across to the mainland. It's like I'm on that little frickin' floating island. It's just south of the United States there.
I was afraid it was your ankle bracelet.
Yeah. The whole state's on house arrest. Cool, good. And Jason Reichard, evading law enforcement back there. How's it going, CoCo, man?
So far, so good. I'm sorry I missed the whole Radio Shack thing because I really wanted to ask if they still honor the Battery of the Month Club card.
They did. They said if you bring it in, they'll throw you some batteries. So.
Awesome.
Are you going to feed the beast? What are you doing?
Yeah, we're going to get some fuel here in a moment, some gasoline or petrol, if you will.
Are you on your way to Rax by any chance?
No, not this week. Maybe next week.
Excellent. And Nick Marentes, how are you, Nick?
Hey, not too bad. Or g'day, I should say.
G'day. Did you get a chance to see some of the store, Nick? And did you like what you saw?
Yeah, I saw it all. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Brings back memories.
And the Australian Radio Shacks were similar. They had all kinds of pegboard walls.
They were very similar. They were called Tandy Electronics.
Okay.
Just like in the UK and everywhere else. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Very
it's
cool.
exactly the same thing. They were pretty much the same thing. They sold all the same stuff. It was the same setup. It was just called Tandy Electronics.
Okay.
Do you guys have the realistic stuff over there?
Yeah, yep.
Like Cronta and all those
And
brands.
Archer, wasn't that another store brand?
Archer was like the radios and antennas and stuff, right? And
yeah,
realistic
I still have
was
my Archer. I still have my Archer feathering iron. I got it right here.
We just been joined by DeBruce. Hey, Bruce. Did you see the Radio Shack store at all, Bruce?
Just missed it. I'll have to catch it on the replay.
Catch it on the replay. All right.
Flip flop.
And we have
it by that much.
Yeah, we do have a special guest today who I saved the best for last. So if you thought seeing Radio Shack store was good, it gets even gooder, because we now have Guru Santiago with us, and Guru is going to talk to us about one of Nick Marenti's favorite topics, is CoCo hardware, and so Guru, and thanks for being here, Guru, and Rob Inman for inviting you, and thanks for being a willing participant here on our train wreck of a show. So we have the spotlight on you. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your background and then tell us about your current projects you're doing right now in the world of retro?
Sure. My name's Carlos Santiago. I go by the handle of Guru Santiago. A few years back, I started a little company called Electronics is Fun to kind of build projects, electronics projects, and things that you could connect up to old retro computers. But I really started out many years back when the color computer first came out. I was finishing up with some school and doing electronics and industrial electronics and computers, and I got involved with microcomputers, and the Radio Shack color computer was coming out, and so I got one of the first ones that came out in the Miami area. I lived in Fort Lauderdale, and a buddy of mine was a Radio Shack salesman, so he and I drove down there to pick up a brand new shiny color computer, 4K with regular basic, and that night we spent all night tinkering with the computer, and we wired up an add-in board to plug into the cartridge slot because we thought we wanted more memory. And of course that lasted for a couple of days, and then we decided we were going to tear into the computer and upgrade it even more. Eventually I got extended basic for the color computer. I upgraded from the 4K to 16K. And then later on, I did the old Frank Hogg mod to my computer to get it up to 64K. Designed my own disk controller, hooked up a couple of disk drives, played around with OS 9, level 1, and I moved on to the CoCo 3. I never owned a CoCo 2, but on the CoCo 3, I went ahead and I jumped into OS 9 level 2, learned a little bit about that. And so that was my start with the color computer. But for the last 40 or so years, I've been involved in developing computer hardware, both for mini computers, embedded products, and the PC. So if you guys had ever heard of a company called Boca Research, I used to develop I/O cards for them. And
neat.
Graphics cards. Also did some sound and modem products while I was there, some IDE controllers, some multi-IO controllers, and then from there that kind of catapulted me into the PC industry. So I've worked, I started my career working on mini computers that launched the space shuttle, and then I moved on to supercomputers and working for a company called Gould that developed some high-end super mini computers that were used for simulation. They were used for graphics rendering and real-time processing. So a lot of the machines that I worked on way back, eventually those technologies got integrated down into what we see today in our in our modern PCs. So I've been involved with PCs now since probably around the mid 80s, maybe late 80s, in developing hardware at different capacities, from add-in cards to motherboards. I've worked for Compaq, I've worked for AMD and Intel, and recently I've been working for Dell. And I've since changed careers from developing hardware to developing software. So right now my day job has me developing tools and applications along with drivers for Dell.
Wow.
That's currently what I'm doing.
That's an impressive impressive backstory there. So and somehow you still manage to make things for retro systems, even though you're not working in the modern world.
Yeah, so I have a little lab that I've set up a lot of my retro computers, and I tend to work on across the board, not just on Radio Shack color computers, but across computers from Commodore and Apple. So my collection spans the gamut, and I believe there's a picture that Stevie can show.
I'll bring it up right now.
Yeah.
Do you still have your old 64K that was 4K?
No, but I have a new one that I bought that I upgraded to 64K and extended basic. So I still have a Color Computer 1, a Color Computer 2, and a Color Computer 3.
Cool.
Yeah, I've got your little garage shot up right now, up on the screen so people can see it.
Yeah, so this is part of my collection. Starting on the left, I got a Power Mac, and then I've got an Apple IIe, a classic Macintosh, a Commodore PET. That's a pretty old one there. Then there's my Color Computer 3, Commodore 64, and a PC Junior on the end there. I also have several other computers. I've got a Tenno Dragon. It's basically a Tenno 64, a Dragon 64. And microcolor computer 10, and an Altair clone, and just several other miscellaneous computers. I like to tinker with the older machines because you can actually understand all the inner workings of them. The newer products are so complex that it's really hard for any one person to be knowledgeable across the board in these new architectures. So I kind of enjoy building and testing things on these older machines because it's easier to understand what's going on.
Right, and there's a couple things in particular that caught our attention because they're focused on the color computer, and I think that's what got Rob Inman interested in what you're working on too. So
yeah, there's a couple of things. Before we move on to that, you just got back from a TI 99 4A conference.
Yes, I did. I last weekend here at the local hackerspace, there was a TI, I don't know, like a mini conference or so that we did a little bit of hacking, and there were some presentations. It was interesting. You know, I kind of focused myself on doing a little bit of assembly language programming on the TI 99. While we were there, there were some presentations of a BBS system that one of the members had developed. There was also some demonstrations of other types of hardware that attached to the TI computer. I also demonstrated the TI computer using this product that we're going to talk to about for the CoCo also. It's a Wi-Fi modem product that allows us to connect to the internet wirelessly on just any computer that has a RS-232 serial port.
So that's a good segue. So one of the things I know you had posted previously about the Guru Modem on the Facebook group, and you probably are aware, Bo Zimmerman created the original firmware for the C64 net, and then Alan Huffman forked it so that it would support standard non-crazy computers, because the C64 reverses the signals, right?
Yeah.
So your device will support C64, but it'll also support the other computers like the CoCo. So how does that work? How do you how does it know? Can you set the mode to C64 mode?
Okay, so let me kind of go back a little bit just so that you get a full history of what's going on. So Bo Zimmerman's a good friend of mine. He runs the local Commodore Computer Users Group, and he and I collaborate on a bunch of projects. In fact, I'm going to his meeting tomorrow to show some software that we were playing around with last week on the Amiga 2000. And so Bo and I had gotten a discussion a couple of years ago because he had purchased a modem for one of his Commodore 64s. And for those who don't know Bo is an avid collector of Commodore products. He's got a lab with just about every Commodore computer that was made. So he was struggling with the fact that he had spent about $120 on this modem, and he was not happy with it at all. Also, he wasn't happy with the fact that when he tried to ask questions or get information about the modem, the guy who developed it really wasn't forthcoming in supporting him and providing him with what he needed. So I looked at what it was that he was using, and it turns out that this modem was kind of I don't know. I would say it was not your average design in that it used a module that had an integrated Arduino with a display, and then it had some activity to the user port on the Commodore 64, but it just wasn't. It didn't seem like he had designed it completely. He had just found this module and kind of wired it together and kind of got it to work. So I spoke with Bo, and we decided that we'd work on trying to create a better version of that modem that Commodore users would be able to use. And that became a thing called the C64net. And that I don't know if Stevie can show this, but I have it opened up here on this.
You can share it if you want.
I can share this. Okay, so I'm going to share this, and I'm going to share this. And so this, can you guys see that?
Yep.
Certainly can.
Okay, so that is the first modem design that I just did for the Commodore 64, and I worked with Bo in that he was interested in this modem, and so I told him, I said, I'm more than willing to design this thing for use in the club, and as long as I can get his support on developing the software. So he and I worked together. I developed the hardware. He did the coding for the modem itself, which in this incarnation uses a ESP8266. And the interesting thing about this modem is that it allows you to run on a Commodore 64 that's usually restricted to about 1200 baud. It lets you run in a mode called up 9600, and it allows you to run at 9600 baud on a Commodore 64 wirelessly. So it's a product that had been well received. I built many of them and sold them to the members in the Commodore community. But I was also working on a modem that I wanted to use in my lab. And so one of the things that I wanted to be able to do is to have some amount of local storage, and I wanted to be wireless so I didn't run a bunch of cables. And so what I came up with was this product that I call the Guru Modem. Let me see, do I have it here? I don't know, let me see. I may just have to bring it up here. Yeah, I'm just
Electronics is fun. You're talking about your website?
Yeah, I got a bunch of open windows here, so I'm just going to go to my website.
Your website's called
Yeah, and
electronicsisfun.com.
Yeah.
That's
I don't know why
that's
I'm
a
up.
cool website name.
Yeah, yeah.
There we
absolutely.
go. Okay, so this is Electronics is Fun, and essentially I developed this thing called the Guru Modem. And so this is the Guru Modem. You guys see that?
Yeah.
So essentially what I decided to do was to develop a modem that I could use across all these different platforms. The C64 net was unique in that it only worked with the Commodore because it connected to what's known as the user port on the Commodore 64. It actually works with other members of the Commodore family, but we won't go into that right now because there are some differences. So for the remainder of the different computers that I had in my lab, I thought, well, the best approach would be, hooking into the serial port, because although many of the computers have maybe Ethernet connectivity or some other type of I/O, it would force me to have to develop a different modem for each machine. So trying to avoid that effort, what I did was I did some research on this newer part that is made by Expressive. It's called the ESP32. And that chip is kind of, a big brother to the ESP8266 in that it has multiple processors and it is still Wi-Fi, but also has more I/O. And so that allowed me to develop this modem where I have full serial and modem control on the port. So the serial port on this modem has all the signals that you'd find on a standard 9-pin PC serial modem. So it has everything that's needed to support modem communications out to the internet. And in addition to that, I added an SD card interface so that I could store some data right on the modem. And so my friend Bo Zimmerman developed a shell that runs within the modem that allows you to access that SD card in almost like a DOS or Linux shell kind of an environment. And in addition to all the things you would expect from a modem, which is, send and receive and do communications in different protocols like X modem and Z modem, within the shell, it also has the ability of talking to other machines through Telnet using FTP. So you can actually connect to other remote machines and send and receive data with FTP capability, do an FGET or an FPUT. And there's also Z modem capability if you want to transfer data between machines, either locally or remote. So this modem itself gives you the capability of putting just about any computer that has a serial port onto the internet, and even the color computer. Mm-hmm. So it's a product that I developed from scratch. So you're not going to find it, any other products that look like this. But one of the things that I do want to mention, getting back to the beginning in the story where Bo wasn't able to get the support that he needed. The biggest thing is that when I started my career, all companies used to provide the documentation for their products to make it easier for their customers to be able to, program or do what they needed with the product that they had purchased. And so I carry on that philosophy in that if you see here, this is the download area for my products, and I normally provide the manual and the schematics and the data for the products that I make, so that if someone is interested in how it works or they want to modify it or change it or improve it, they're fully capable of doing that. And I think it's important for the current times where we're at to be able to do that, because so many products out there on the market are developed and they're closed in fear of people taking advantage of someone's IP. I don't follow that. I enjoy developing products and sharing them with my customer base. And there are people out there that have taken what I've done and made their own product, and I'm okay with that. I just want to make sure that when I develop a product, that I provide everything that the users are going to need to enjoy the product that they purchased from me. So, for example, if you wanted to program the modem, all of the code for the modem is available here at this GitHub site. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you can pull the code down, you can look at it, you can change it, you can do whatever you want. There's no restrictions on what we're developing here. And we do that because we believe that the community can improve on what we've done, right? So with the Guru Modem, along with the other products that I show here, we are in that same situation. So if you look here at Bo's website, coffeemud.net, you can see that he's got all of this information here that's accessible for the C64 modem. And as I showed you before on my site, you have access to all of the documentation and the schematics if you need them. Additionally, you can go to GitHub and you can pull down the firmware for these products also, and not have to worry about the fact that, wow, if I find a bug and I want to try to fix it, I can't, and I got to wait for someone else to deal with it. So I think it's a good approach for the community. It helps everyone out. I essentially do this because I really enjoy the hobby, and I think there are other people out there that'll enjoy it also. And as I said, the products that I'm developing, some of them are specifically for the CoCo, some are just general that work across different products. So with that, do you guys have any questions?
Well, I wanted to thank you for posting all that information up on your website. And so what I did, I was communicating with Dave Phillipson. I don't know if you know who that is. He developed Supercom for OS 9. He participated, which Supercom is a terminal program. So he knows a few things about modems and things like that. And so Dave Phillipson and I have been playing around with Alan Huffman's solution, which is a ESP8266, if I'm saying that right. Yeah. And I have that set up, and it's about a $15 solution, and it works well, and it'll connect you to BBS, and I demoed it at VCF West. But one of the things that has been on my mind and kind of been I think a little bit of a question mark for the community is permanent internet connection for the CoCo, basically. And we have a legacy technology called DriveWire, and it's now being developed into a Python-based solution by Mikey, who appears on the show. I think DriveWire, though, is probably not the future, and I think something like this might be. So what was happening with Dave Phillips and I were experimenting with Alan Huffman's fork of Bo Zimmerman's firmware on the 8266, and we were doing some testing and downloading some sample packets from his server. But really what struck me when I was taking another closer look at the Guru modem was that you did have that built-in Linux shell, and you had the local storage, and you had the protocol, the Z modem, X modem protocols built in. And so, and you being a Commodore guy know that the Amigas and for example, can go on AmiNet and just download stuff directly, right? They don't have to go through a PC or transfer files. So in the future, what we're thinking is that a CoCo could connect to the Color Computer Archive and just simply download whatever you needed off the Color Computer Archive, and not have to deal with DriveWire, and not have to transfer your SD card out of your CoCo SDC into your computer, and basically kind of a more permanent solution. And so I posted your manual, and it was very much what Dave and I were talking about, trying to get the previous kind of 8266 solution up to where we wanted to go with it. And it turns out you've kind of already done that. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited to try it. I don't have one of them, but I hope that we'll get to, I'll be able to do that, and hopefully you'll be able to, contribute and help us out in that area. I mean, is that your, what is your comment on that? I suppose this would go for any computer that could connect to it. So whatever you have, TI-99, and you want to download stuff, you can now do that with the Guru Modem.
Right. So currently, so certain computers don't have an RS-232 port standard. So for example, I connected to the TI computer using a thing called a Nano PEB, which adds extra memory and an RS-232 port. On the Color computer, I currently don't have a serial expansion pack, but I did build a cable. So I'll show you here. Hold on. I'm going to move you guys over here. Don't get dizzy. So hopefully you can see here, there's the Guru modem, and there's just a cable that I built connecting it to the Bitbanger port. Yep. And I've been able to get that that port to communicate up to 9600 baud on the Color computer Bitbanger port using Sockmaster's Twilight term. I don't have a serial cart, so I haven't been able to test it at any higher speed, but I have run it at speeds as high as 230.4 kbaud on the Power Mac. And so I know that it'll do what you're trying to do with the Color computer. And as I said, the firmware is available. And I think that if there's changes that are required, that can be done to provide additional features. One of the things that I was kind of wondering is that it seemed that somehow DriveWire, I'm not sure if they're running at 115.2 kbaud, but they're running at some higher speed, and I'm not sure what they're doing to do that yet. So my intent was to kind of look at that and try to figure out what they're doing over that Bitbanger port to get the speed that they're getting, and maybe be able to incorporate something there to get other speeds on the Bitbanger port.
I think they are running at that speed, is Bruce talking, and aren't they just running the CPU at high speed, the high speed poke to get that that extra speed out of it? Anybody know?
I don't know. We could ask. We could certainly ask Mikey, who's
yeah.
That's my vague recollection that DriveWire must run in the high speed mode
on the CoCo 3.
Yes, and that's how it gets that high baud rate.
So there may be some code that could be added here to do that, because the modem is quite capable of running at those higher speeds.
I have a dumb question for you about how that storage works. Is this like centralized storage where this can become a server for your entire network of retro machines, or is it a per machine storage?
Okay, so my plan was that, back in the day, all I had was a 300 baud modem, and I was like, wow, I'd have to turn my computer on, start a download, go to sleep, wait till the next day to have the file. Right? And so I thought, wow, if I had something intermediary that could move the data for me, then the computer wouldn't have to do that. And then whenever I download it onto the local storage, it would come down really quick. And then at my leisure, I could pull it off of that storage to use it and maybe copy it to floppy or somewhere else. So the thought was, let's give this thing some amount of storage capability locally. And then if we were to talk between any of my classic computers and my server, I could FTP data back and forth, because it would run at the speed of moving data from the SD card out through the wireless. The computer wouldn't have to be involved. So the intent is that I can send data back and forth from any of my classic computers to this server using FTP and not worry about having to load up a BBS or do some strange things to get the data moved around. Now, that's the minimum that I'm doing. You can do way more than that if you want to spend a little time developing some software. And that's what I figured people would do, is to take what's already been created in the Guru Modem and then take it a step further where they could, use the facilities of Telnet and FTP and be able to do some higher level stuff that would make it really useful across the board.
Interesting.
Right.
You could use that like as a hub for a NAS setup where you had, like, say, a central PC case with a bunch of hard drives in it, or just one drive. And you have, like you said, Stevie, have all your CoCo 1s, CoCo 2s, CoCo 3s or whatever connected to this central hub, and then just pull whatever you want off it at any time, even locally.
Yeah, that's the intent. But another thing opens up beyond that, and that is that now, since everyone is connected wirelessly, it's not unfeasible that you could develop, say, games or other software where you could play across different machines, right?
Yeah.
So you could have a game that ran on a CoCo that you can play against someone that's on an Apple computer or on a TI computer or whatever it might be, because it's just a wireless conduit for them to communicate. There's nothing special that each of these computers needs to understand. So I think there's a lot of potential for doing this kind of thing. And unfortunately, a lot of the collectors that are out there kind of stick to just their own one type of computer. But I'm seeing more and more people collecting across the spectrum of different computers. And this is kind of an equalizer for those kinds of people that want to be able to connect wirelessly either to different BBSs or amongst their computers or amongst a local machine that they set up.
Yeah, that's very cool. I was thinking about Errata Online. Are you familiar with that? The Thomas Cherryhones project with the.
I have, and they were demoing it at the little conference that we had last week on the TI computer, and they were showing. I think they were playing Battleship or something. On it.
Yeah. So that's a platform that's already kind of. It's a hosted environment that's cross-platform. There's clients for a lot of vintage machines already. Yeah, that would be very cool.
So Dave Phillipson's commenting in the chat that he believes DriveWire can do the high-speed communication only one way in half duplex. So, but to your point, you could potentially have a legacy technology like DriveWire where the Guru Modem talks to DriveWire. So it could be cover that need for those people who use DriveWire, and also have a modern connection.
So if you had 8 vintage machines, all 8 of them would need their own Guru modems, right, in order to talk to each other.
Correct, and that's what I've done in my little lab. Is I've got one on each of the machines. But the fact that they are all wireless means you're not running.
What is the sticker price on the modem?
The modem itself is $69.99.
No, that's not bad.
I kind of build a bunch of them and I put them out on eBay for sale.
Okay.
Anyone's interested can purchase them through that avenue.
There's an interesting. Oh, sorry to cut you off. I wanted to mention the Roger Taylor has a software called NetMate. I don't know if you've heard of that.
No, I haven't.
It supports the Mega Mini MPI's high-speed UART serial ports. And so this product combined with NetMate and the Mega Mini, and you've got, you're in business at the high speed level, and you should be able to support those higher speeds.
Yeah,
that's the first thing I thought about when you were mentioning that. I've got the Mega Mini MPI right beside me here, right there. And I was just looking at the side of it, and I thought that port on the side of that would be a perfect application.
So that board has sound and it has 2 serial ports on it, right? Is that what it has?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, it would just require some software. I mean, the fact that, and I don't know, does that have RS-232 level signaling, or is it just TTL?
Well, the software is created. It's NetMate. It supports those ports already. I don't know the difference between those two types of serial ports, but I can get that for you.
Yes.
The exact.
So the fact is that normal
16550 is what's being put in the chat by Curtis. It's got a UART chip on it, so it's a hardware based. Yeah.
Right, but the fact is that the 16550, if it's going to connect to a standard RS-232 port, it must do what's known as level shifting, where it takes the TTL level signals that come out of that UART and converts them to signals that are between 3 and 12 volts positive and -3, -12 volts. And
there's an adapter. I think there's an adapter you plug into it. You buy that from Ed as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got here's my other. I've got two of these. I don't know if you guys can see that there. There's the connector on the back.
So if you have that adapter that converts the levels, then the Guru Modem will work. You'll just connect it up and it should work. The connector is a standard definition for what's known as a DCE device. So when you connect to it, you would connect to it just like you connect it to any other modem back in the day. And the distinction there is that the computer is normally a DTE, data terminal equipment, and when you go from data terminal equipment to data communications equipment, the transmit and receive are swapped already internally on the data communications equipment, so the pins go straight through. It's just a straight through cable. So as long as you follow those standards, you should be able to connect up to that interface and get the Guru modem working with a very small amount of effort.
So you're basically talking about like TTL to CMOS sort of levels, are you? Or
no. What happens is the RS-232 standard, because the expectation is you would be running cable, say, up to 25 feet away. They did this signaling where on the TTL side, a low is called a space and a high is called a mark. So when you go through RS-232, a mark becomes a voltage that's between -3 and +12 volts, and a space becomes a voltage that is between +3 and +12 volts, and that's called RS-232. And signaling standard. And
so it's a bipolar voltage, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so it converts the voltages for you. And if you have one of those serial packs that plug into the color computer, it actually has a couple of chips in there called the 1488 and the 1489 that do that function for you.
So it may very well work just right now out of the box. So we'll show this to Ed Snyder.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's a standard RS-232 interface, it should work. I have not had any problems right now with any of the computers that I've plugged into, with exception of the Apple II computer, where they decided that they were going to use the wrong gender connector on their serial board. So it requires a gender changer. But you plug a gender changer in, and then we plug the modem directly up to the gender changer, and it works.
Yeah, I think a lot of Apple users are used to gender reassignment. So
yeah. So I think
just a jab at the Apple community there. Sorry, guys.
As I said earlier, the modem was designed to work across all these computers, and it does because it uses the standard pinout for a standard RS-232 interface. So there's nothing magical, nothing special about it. The board, when I designed it with a chip that on board creates those signals for you directly from the regulator. Here, let me show you the picture again, and I kind of point that out.
You have to reshare again. I stopped your sharing because it was hogging up the screen.
Okay, so let me, let's see, where is the picture? I got to get back to my website here. Is it this one?
Now, what I did with my Allen Huffman Wi-Fi is I put a Y cable, and so I was able to use it with my Amiga and my CoCo. So
at the same time?
No, I didn't use them at the same. I suppose it would work. I mean, as long as you weren't transmitting at the same time. But no, I don't typically use them at the same time. So if I'm in a Amiga mood, I can.
So it's just like it's a splitter that's plugged into two devices.
A splitter.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So if you're not, if you have 8 computers, like Carlos does, you may not want all of them connected to BBS at the same time. You could perhaps just buy one of these and split it.
Okay, can you guys see the modem there on the screen?
Yep, we see it.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a little tour of the modem so that you get an idea of what it is. So on the left there is that 25-pin RS-232 connector, and I could have gone to a 9-pin, but I felt that most of the older computers were running 25-pin connectors. It wasn't until the PC became prevalent that they switched over to the 9-pin. So that's why it's a 25-pin. Okay, to the right of that connector, you're going to see at the top, you're going to see that shiny metal chip there. That's the ESP32. It's essentially a system on a chip with Wi-Fi. And also, and this is something that I don't normally broadcast, but it also has built-in Bluetooth capability. Although it's not enabled right now, it would be left to the community to decide whether they wanted to use Bluetooth. I couldn't figure out a good reason to use Bluetooth on it, but it's there. Okay. And then right below it, that device that you see at the bottom handles all of the translation for all the signals. Okay. And so it takes in the TTL signals from the ESP32, and it converts them to the RS-232 levels. And the way it does that is that on the right here, we take in through a micro USB port, we take 5 volts in, and we make it 3.3 volts. That 3.3 volts feeds everything on the board. And inside this device that's here, there's a thing called a charge pump, and it takes the input of 3.3 volts and it generates a signal that's somewhere in the range of plus and minus 5 volts. So it converts it to a level that is compatible with the RS-232 standard, so that when we send signals or receive signals in RS-232, they will be at the right levels.
That's all built in. That's pretty cool.
On the upper right is the SD card interface. And right below that connector that you see there is a connector that I use to program the firmware into the modem. And the way I do that is I use what's known as an FTDI 3.3 volt cable. It connects into USB, and it provides the proper signaling such that I can use a program to download the code into the ESP32. The firmware itself was developed within the Arduino environment. And so essentially what I do is I just use the little program that is provided with that environment, along with the files that get generated to do the upload with just a batch file. And then there are 2 buttons down here at the bottom. The reset button just resets the modem. The program button, if you hold that button down and press reset, it puts the ESP32 into program mode, and then you can download firmware into it. Now, people are wondering, well, why didn't I populate that connector? The fact is that the modem itself supports over-the-air updating. So if you write new firmware, you probably want to program it using the header, but to get updates that are provided by Bo, you can just get them over the air using the over-the-air command that you can just issue to the modem itself while you're in a terminal program.
Okay, and these updates are not Commodore specific. They will work on a CoCo.
No, and let me tell you a little bit about the Commodore specific stuff so that you understand what's going on. So the Commodore itself supports, let's go back. Most computers support what's known as ASCII. You guys are familiar with ASCII?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, so ASCII kind of only defines like the first 128 characters for text and for control and non-printable characters. But on certain computers like the Commodore 64 and the Atari, and even the IBM PC, the upper part of the ASCII character set, the top 128 characters, have been defined to do other things, like, for instance, generate graphics and symbols. And so Commodore took that concept of having these extra symbols at the top part of the command set, along with some other tweaks to the ASCII code to come up with what's known as PETSCII. And so that PETSCII is kind of like ASCII, but it's Commodore's version of it. And so the modem can be in a mode where it's in quote, and we're calling it kind of graphics mode, where you can connect up to a Commodore bulletin board, and the characters that get sent down will be rendered on a Commodore computer the correct way. But in the world of the PC and other computers, they don't have that. What they do is they use something called ANSI graphics. So when you use the modem on a computer that's not a Commodore 64 computer, you just don't use that graphics mode, and then it'll just be working in standard ASCII. Okay? And so that's the distinction. So the firmware does have the support for this PETSCII mode, but you don't have to use it.
You don't have to use it. I think I was thinking of what Alan had to do with the original Zimmerman program was that the receive and transmit were reversed on the Commodore 64, is what he mentioned. So he had to switch those to work with other computers like the CoCo and the Amiga, and so I assume that Bo now supports all 8-bit computers and not just that special mode of receive and transmit that works only on the
And I'm not sure where he found that the data transmit and receive were reversed. That I can't speak to that, but I'm not sure how that would happen. But the issue of the Commodore graphics is something that's there, but doesn't affect you unless you enable it.
Sure. Well, it looks like, today you can get a Guru modem and you can get it up and running on the Bitbanger up to 9600 using Twilight terms. So it's usable right now. In terms of the high speed, it looks like, according to Dave Phillipson in the chat, that there will need to be a shifter circuitry. Ed Snyder will have to introduce that in a future module because the Mega Mini UARTs are 5-volt TTL. Not RS-232. So,
well, there is a counterpart to the chip that I used here, that is the part that would be on the computer side. Okay, so essentially it works the same way as this chip, but it does the conversion in the opposite direction. So if he is interested in that, he can, get in touch with me, and I can tell him what he might need to do. But there is an equivalent chip so that he could use just a single chip for each port, along with extra capacitors that are there to get it working.
Because I think there are people, say in Australia right now, who'd like to have a high-speed connection to their Mega Minis.
Sure.
So, but I would like to get one even before that. I don't have a Mega Mini anyway, so I would use it for now at the 9600, so I could just play around with the file download capabilities, which I think is the real, secret sauce here, and the fact that it will go faster in the future, or once Ed Snyder makes a few changes, is a bonus.
Another thing to mention is I tried Ultimate Term also. Unfortunately, I don't have an RGB monitor for my color computer, so the text is really, really bad, but I tested it with that also. So there's at least 2 programs that I know that work with the color computer bitbang port. I don't believe that Ultimate Term that allows you to run above 2400, but it's been a while since I ran it, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, a lot of the other ones were hard coded to not even offer you that that selection. And then I don't know, Curtis is not on, but he could comment on OS9.
Yeah, and Stockmaster could comment on this Twilight Term, because he kind of, from what I could read, he wrote it, but he doesn't really have a lot of support for it. So I don't.
Yeah, he didn't remember. I had a question for him last week or the week before, and he didn't remember the answer. So it's been a while since he's looked at that.
Yeah, so
he plays a
mileage
lot of Donkey Kong.
Right. Yeah.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Which chip on that board is more likely to put blue smoke out?
Well, if I had any that put blue smoke out, I could tell you, but I've not had that situation. So
good. Good.
These modems, just to give you an idea, are being purchased by people all over the world, and I've had really good experience. People are happy with the modem, and I haven't had any hardware failures. I talked to someone just the other day that was experiencing some issues. It seems like there may be some software update that we may be doing here soon for his particular issue, where he was attempting to use a feature called AT plus config to config the modem with his SSID and his password, and he was having problems. And so I recommended that he would go ahead and issue the standard ATW command to set his SSID and his password, and that corrected his problem. So I think there's a bug in that AT plus config function that I'm going to be looking into to try to figure out if it was a single occurrence or if it's a problem that could affect other users. In any case, I have replaced his modem, sent him a brand new one, and he's happy now that he's able to connect. So we'll be looking at that firmware issue, but I don't know of any hardware issues at this moment.
That's cool.
Good.
So I don't know if anyone else has any questions. Certainly, we can open it up for any additional questions. I did. My heart stopped though when I was on your site, because I was interested in this file transfer capability, and then you dropped a little bomb in the middle of your web page saying "coming soon," and I was like, oh. First of all, I'll read it, and you can show it on the screen if you want. But it says new products are on the horizon for the color computer. The Sprite engine will give the CoCo 256 sprites, 256 colors per sprite, stereo sound generated by 64 voices. It will be based on the game Arduino Shield. I am also developing an extender card for the CoCo that will plug into the cartridge slot and provide 2 connectors for cartridges and a 40-pin header for connecting a logic analyzer. And you say, think about it like a Y cable. So, what can you tell it that's a whole lot to unpack here?
Okay, so you should see on your screen right now a schematic. I don't know how clear that is for you guys.
I can see it.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. No?
Yeah, we see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very clear.
All right, so this is the initial design. I still got some other things I'm going to be doing here, but for right now, the design itself requires a couple of things. Okay, so first of all, I want to show you something here. So this, I don't know if I got to share this again. Bear with me, I'm learning to use this Zoom software and I'm not sure how to switch from one screen to the other for sharing. It's like I want to share the other screen, but this window doesn't have the icon for sharing in it.
Here, I'll just stop sharing for you. Hold on one second.
Okay, thank you. I don't know how
yeah,
this
that's fine. I just learned today that I can stop people sharing. That was a new trick that I learned. So, yeah.
I'll need you to stop the sharing in a minute again when I go back to the schematic. So select the window to share, and that is here. Okay. All right. So what you're seeing now is you're seeing a page for a thing called the Game Duino, and this is a product that I used to sell a few years back, and it essentially is an FPGA-based product, and this is the specs that it provides. It can display up to 400 by 300 pixels in 512 colors. It's capable of supporting VGA out directly, so you can have this, say, for example, as a second monitor connection to your computer. The background can be defined larger than what you see in your screen, up to 512 by 512 pixels, so you can scroll the image around the screen. It supports up to 256 characters each with independent palette color. And the important thing is down here, each sprite that it supports can be 16 by 16 pixels with per pixel transparency, and you can use up to 256 colors per sprite. And there are a total of 256 sprites available, and you can have up to 96 of them per scan line. So if any of you are familiar with how the Amiga or the Commodore 64 or the TI computer work, there's some limitations on the number of sprites you can have per line on those computers. And if you have more than what they specify, they start flashing.
Yeah.
In addition to that, this thing has these 64 independent voices of audio. So it allows you to have stereo audio and mixing these voices of sounds into the left and the right channel. And it supports this per voice sine wave or white noise. And you can play back just digital samples. So the board itself is I don't know if you can see this. I'm holding it up here.
We can, but I'd have to stop. Can I stop you sharing now so we can look at you bigger?
Sure.
Okay.
So that is the Game Duino board. Okay.
Now you designed this? You created this from scratch?
No, this was done by this other guy. What is his name? David Bowman. And he developed this board, but it's open source. So the intent that I have is that my initial board is just going to have the headers for the Arduino so that I can plug this right in. But in the future, I'll probably put this right down onto the same board, and then this will just plug into the cartridge slot.
Neat.
All right.
So it's basically it's a self-contained game system. It has all the audio and video chipsets you would need for a game system, and you just use whatever CPUs on the computer you attach it to.
Absolutely. And if you look here, he's got this quick reference that kind of shows how it's architected.
You would need to share
again. I need to share again.
Yeah, I had to stop it so I could see your camera bigger.
So let me share it. Can I share two things at a time, or just one?
If you share your whole desktop, then you can drag a bunch of stuff on the same desktop.
We will do that then. Let's see. Yeah. Share that screen. There we go. Okay. Oh boy. Okay. All right. So now we got side by side here. We got these two things. So I want to kind of give you a picture of how this works. Okay. So if you go over here to xcamera.com, that's where you'll find the information about this. And this board just plugs into an Arduino, so you could download the demos and see it in action. but you can go here and you can see the capabilities. And essentially what I'm doing is I'm transplanting this onto a board that will plug into the CoCo. And what I'm doing is, if you look at the schematic on the left, this big block in the middle essentially is an Arduino that plugs into the side of a CoCo, and it's got its own decode circuitry here. And the idea is that you can write some code in the CoCo that talks to this Arduino and tells it, I want you to define my sprites, or I want you to define the background color, or I want to print some text. And you issue that information to this Arduino, and then the Arduino takes over and talks to the Gameduino board and displays everything for you. And because it's being done by this FPGA, it's ultra fast, right? So very, very quick graphics, good sound. There's 32K of memory available on the Gameduino board to be able to contain all the information that's being displayed along with the sounds. And it just gives you a quick way of adding the capability of high precision sound and sprite graphics to a color computer. And it doesn't matter which model it is, it'll work on all of them.
Wow.
So the intent is to add sprite capability and do it through the form of a cartridge that then people can then write their own software for, right? They can, you know, they can use BASIC to talk to this thing, or they could write assembly language. The intent is that I will write, I'll be writing some code that goes into this Arduino that accepts commands from the color computer, and I'll document what that will be, and then users will be able to essentially either write assembly language or from basic poke values into these ports to make it do things. And if somebody in the community gets really interested, maybe they could add new tokens to BASIC to define the sprites and do some other things.
That would be awesome.
That's something that's, I'm particularly interested in the idea of using that for, like you mentioned earlier, that you can play samples from it, audio samples. If you could have a basic command to, or poke something into an address there to make it play a sample, that would be really useful.
Right.
For music.
Yeah. So it's a very flexible product, and like I said, I used to sell this board to customers a few years ago. The inventor of this product has moved on to a new product that is more self-contained and has its own LCD display.
Okay.
Kind of a handheld. Let me see if I can pull it up here.
Almost sounds like a Game Boy or something.
Yeah, so let's...
So, but to be clear on this, even though we're adding sprites and stuff to the CoCo, it would only be visible on an external monitor. These visuals would not feed their way back into the RGB out of the CoCo, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And again, the fact that it's plugging into the cartridge removes the restriction of what computer it'll work on.
Right.
So makes it such that it should be easy for anyone to be able to program it, because again, it's being done through these I/O ports into this board, and the Arduino is doing the heavy lifting to talk to the Gameduino board, the FPGA. So users won't have to know anything about FPGAs or any of that kind of stuff to be able to work with it. So here's this, well, there's only video on his Kickstarter, but you can see here he's got an LCD display on the back side. He's got the chipset that does the Gameduino 3, and it's even more powerful than the original Gameduino. I thought that on his website he had...
Sounds like an Italian last name. Hey, my name's Tony Gameduino. How you doing?
Hey, there you go.
Yeah, I think he does have a Gambino tool.
Here it is.
Gambino.
So there it is. There's what it looks like, and essentially he's got images and demos of things you can do with it here, right? And this thing can do 2001 sprites, so it's even more powerful. So there you go. That's just that's what he's doing nowadays.
Wow.
But this will allow the color computer to have sprites, and hopefully users will be able to develop really high-end games, especially on the CoCo 3, with it being able to run over 2 megahertz with all the sprites and all the sounds. So
that would be amazing. Yeah.
Be a pretty interesting thing.
All on OS 9, I hope.
Well,
at that
really,
point,
again, I'm offering a hardware solution that it's going to need some community members to develop some software for it. And I know I'm doing software for a day job, but I tend to really enjoy developing hardware. So I spend most of my time doing hardware, and only during days at work do I do software. So I tend to kind of build enough software into the product that someone else can then take it from there and add more enhancements and capabilities.
Would the audio capability from that be compatible with play and sound commands in BASIC, or would it be all specifically with poke commands?
Well, so as I said earlier, this board, I'm going to have an Arduino, essentially an Arduino processor on the board that's going to accept commands to access either the graphics hardware or the sound hardware in this game Arduino. And then it's really up to whoever's writing the application to talk to that interface, right, that I provide to the color computer, right, which will be in the form of maybe what's known as, say, a display list or a sound buffer, for example, right? Mm-hmm. So the user from the computer side would say, oh, I have these 10 sprites that I want to show on the screen. And so he can send those to this cartridge along with commands that say, draw the sprites in these different locations, for example. He could also say, I want to play these particular sounds on the 2 channels available, and he'll store that data in this buffer, and then the Arduino firmware will then move that over to the game Arduino to cause it to play the sounds and show the sprites.
So you're almost coming up with a hardware interpreter for this device, where we're gonna...
Yeah. So the idea is that it's basically going to provide an interface to the color computer that should be clear and concise enough for people to be able to use those capabilities without having to do all the low-level stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And again, just like the other products, the firmware will be available for this microcontroller. So if someone sees this thing and says, well, it'd be really cool if I did, maybe put some kind of a MIDI player in here or whatever they want to do, they could do that, right? I mean, the limitations are that this processor only has 32K of flash, and I believe it's either 1 or 2K of static RAM for the buffer. So those are the restrictions. But then again, this is all going to be done through the Arduino environment. So it's not going to require someone to have really deep knowledge of how this microcontroller works to be able to make changes.
Well, it's definitely worth looking forward to when it becomes available. So hopefully you'll join us again in the future as you have updates on this.
Yeah.
And,
so I also have something else to show you guys if you'd like to see.
Sure.
And
what's the target time frame? Just out of curiosity, is this a 2020 kind of project for the game Arduino?
Yeah, I don't have a real time schedule put together for this. Seeing that there's some interest would kind of get me more excited about getting it done sooner than later. The intent is that I have a bunch of different projects going on. I've spent a lot of time doing projects on other machines, and I'm trying to focus on the color computer stuff now because that's really kind of my favorite computer. And so I started working on this, and as you see here, the date on the schematic is March of this year.
Yeah, so it should be done already.
Well, the schematic is fairly close to being complete. I still have a couple of things I probably might change here. But then the coding of the firmware is the issue, right? Getting that code all done. So it'll take a little effort to get the software done. That's probably the long pole in the tent is the software. Getting the software going, hopefully several months maybe to get that done. And then, having the prototypes made doesn't take a whole lot of time. And it's not a real complex board, so the layout shouldn't take a long time. But, depending on the kind of interest that there is, maybe I'll do more a lot quicker, right? I do have some other things that I'm doing on the side that I have a couple of projects that I have not done in a while because I've heard other people in the community are probably working on stuff like that. There's been a lot of interest in getting VGA out of the color computer. And I've kind of held off on doing that because I know that there are projects out there doing that already.
Mm-hmm. CoCo VGA being one of them. Yeah.
The Gimme X.
The main one. Yeah.
So the idea is to have maybe something similar to that, but microcontroller based. And I thought I had my notebook here, but I didn't see it. Anyway, I kind of drew up an idea on developing yet another cartridge that would snoop the bus, but using a microcontroller. And then the output of that would be VGA, so that it didn't matter what mode the color computer was in, the microcontroller would figure it out and it would display the appropriate VGA output. And that is kind of just in block diagram form right now because I haven't really settled on whether I'm going to do it or not, considering there's another project already out there. But the intent was that I could just snoop the bus off the cartridge port and generate video based on whatever the color computer is setting up for video. So it's not a real complex thing to do. You just have to have the right design to do that.
I think the wild card becomes the artifact colors, which would not, the NTSC artifacts would not translate to VGA directly, which is one of the things CoCo VGA had to do. It had to emulate that.
Well, I would do the same thing. Essentially, the way it works is that every other pixel on the screen of the CoCo is, if there are black and white pixels being generated, depending on the boundary, it'll be either red or blue. So it's not that hard to do. It's very simple.
I think there's a problem on a CoCo 3 as far as snooping the bus. There's a buffer on the CoCo 3 which will prevent that. I know there's a few people who have been trying to do that and they've discovered it's a problem on a CoCo 3 but not on a CoCo 1 and 2.
Yeah, so what buffer are you talking about?
Oh, I'm not sure exactly, but there's some buffer is in the way.
Okay.
If you look at the CoCo 3 schematic, yeah.
Okay, I'll take a look at that and see what happens.
Yeah. There's a few people have wanted to do that, to snoop the bus, to do tricks like that, but they can't on a CoCo 3, not without bypassing that bus, which means going internally on the CoCo 3 and doing it. Yeah.
Well, and if you go in the CoCo 3, then you either go, you have to pull the Gimme chip out and plug in there, or you can possibly just plug into the processor and snoop the bus that way.
Yeah.
Well, the Gimme X is doing it by substituting the Gimme chip. So
yeah, the Gimme X is doing that already. But yeah,
Yes.
the whole
So-
idea of just plugging something in the cartridge would have been good, but
Yeah.
there's that buffer problem.
So I'll take a look at that, and if that's the case, then probably going to the CPU is probably the next best choice, because the CPU gets all of the traffic. So there's no need to hook to anything else in the system. If you can see all of the address data and control, you can snoop the bus and effectively generate any video you want. So
I think the Gimme's the one that looks at all the RAM anyway. It only provides a 64K window to the 6809, so I don't know if you can do it that way, but you might. I don't know.
yeah, because any of the accesses to memory originate from the processor, except those that are there to refresh the display. And since I will be recreating the display myself, I don't have to worry about the windows and the blocks. All I do is I look at the addresses and I say, oh, he's writing to this page. Oh, okay, I know where he's writing to, and I can render the image.
Yeah.
So, the point of contention over the bus on the cartridge port, that one kind of bothers me, but I'll have to take a look at it. And again, I haven't made anything beyond a block diagram at this point, because like I said, I saw someone else was doing a similar project. There is, however, something that I'm looking at with the color computer that I haven't started with, but I realized that last weekend I was talking to someone about composite video, and it led me to believe that this monitor that I'm using here, which is a Dell monitor, I could potentially get video to display on here over VGA from the VGA output of the color computer. And the reason I'm saying that is that some of the monitors that have the ability of taking in composite and S video or component video also allow you to display VGA at 15.75 kilohertz. And so if that's the case, I should be able to connect from the CoCo RGB port directly to VGA, and maybe with some additional circuitry for the sync polarity, get that to display on my monitor, which would be great because it looks terrible right now.
Yeah, there are some passive cables that'll do that if your monitor has native support for it.
Yeah, or relies on the correct horizontal sync frequency, obviously.
Yeah.
What would be good is a scan doubler for the CoCo.
Yeah, to bring it up to 32.
Sure. Yeah.
31 or whatever it is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So let me show you another thing that I have going here. Do you guys have any questions on the Sprite engine at all?
Well, my question is, what does Nick Marentes think about this, being a game developer? So.
The only question I was going to ask is, with that game Duino thing, so that thing is from the CoCo to the game Duino chip, or it goes through a Arduino board to the game Duino chip?
Okay, so the way it works, if you look at the schematic on the left here,
which you're not sharing again, so yeah.
And I share that again.
Sharing is caring.
Sharing. I'm going to share just that page here. Okay, so can you see that?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here's the CoCo interface, right? And here's all the decode logic to allow me to talk to this board. And right now, the addresses that I've selected are FF79, 7A, 7B, and 7C. Although I'm not sure if that's going to be the final decode, just FYI. The intent was I tried to look for a space in the CoCo address space that wasn't being used currently by other products that I'm aware of. So you have a chip select and you have read and write coming from the color computer. There's this buffer here, this chip down here, that can talk to the Arduino from the CoCo bus, okay? So I can issue commands from the CoCo through this buffer into this microcontroller, which is an Arduino, or I can read data back from that bus back to the color computer. okay, and read it back in. So if there's a collision between sprites or something like that, I can pick that up there, okay? Additionally, if there's an event happening on the game Duino, he can send data back, and we're looking at possibly having an interrupt coming back to the CoCo so that I can actually detect that the game Duino is in need of some response for some event, like you're playing sound and you're running out of buffer or something like that, or there's a collision, or so in either way, asynchronous events that need to be responded to could be responded to through an interrupt. But at any rate, so that microcontroller is going to have some amount of firmware that can interpret commands from the color computer, and they talk to the game Duino over an SPI interface. These signals here, the S clock, MISO, MOSI, and SS. So when we issue a command to this microcontroller, the color computer is done. It doesn't have to deal with any of moving any of the sprite data. None of that information has to be handled by the CoCo. All it does is does the setup, and then the game Duino is issued that information, and the game Duino takes care of it all. Okay? So this essentially is going to be a cartridge that plugs into the computer. It has effectively what you would call an Arduino on the main board, and then these connectors are Arduino connectors where this card that I showed you earlier will plug into. But in later designs, I may just put the FPGA down on the board. So it'll be one single board that'll have the FPGA, it'll have an RGB connector, and it'll have a stereo connector. And you can just plug this into your color computer, and you'll be able to get sprite capability and sound out of it.
Is there a real-time clock anywhere?
No, there's no real-time clock. That seems
well, it's
in this show, huh?
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Well, you could get an. Oh, sorry. I was going to say.
All right.
Okay. What I was going to say is he could get a game Duino board, or I'm sorry, the sprite engine and a Guru Modem, and then he could pull the time from the internet so that he would have real time always.
There you go. And you sell two products that way too. So
there you go. Right. And you don't have to worry about a battery.
Yes.
That's right.
Well, this sounds cool. So, and Nick Marentes, did it answer your question? So
Yeah.
Okay.
So being FPGA based, you could basically, if you wanted to get it to do something, completely change it later on down the track, you could basically do anything you want being an FPGA.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you said there.
He's Australian.
Well, with the main unit doing all the hard work being an FPGA, if you wanted to add some functionality in or change something around later on, you could basically reprogram the FPGA to suit any updates you want to do to it.
That is true, but you need to know a Verilog to do that. It's called, that's a hardware description language, and the actual FPGA, its source code is available, is written in Verilog, and you need to be able to write Verilog code to make that change.
Is that what
I'm just saying it's possible to do it though.
Yes, absolutely. The code's available, and all you need is the tools and the knowledge.
So
Okay.
what's an estimated price for this device?
Oh, that's a good question. I haven't priced out the chips themselves yet, but these FPGAs are probably the most expensive part. And I'm not sure, but I would think that just the chip itself is probably in the $15 range, but I need to check. Most of the other stuff is probably not that expensive. I would like to keep the price, in the $100 or less range.
That would include your board and the game Arduino together?
Well, so here's the idea. So I can produce this in one of two ways. I can either produce it as just the base board and allow the customer to procure the Gameduino.
How much does the Gameduino sell for?
I think I saw some for about $25 or something.
Wow, that's amazing. That much technology. That's.
Let me see if I can find it, because they're.
I think Rob Inman posted a link to it.
I posted a few links. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking for
the original
price
Gameduino.
Yeah.
Original Gameduino.
About it.
It's been a while since I looked.
Reference.
But,
what I don't see is a purchase or price on that website, though. X Camera website. I'm on that right now.
Yep.
No, there's another third party that's selling the Gameduino.
Okay.
Original Gameduino. Not that one. Let's see. You asked me a question I couldn't answer right off the top of my head here, but
that's fine.
I
mean, if it sells for something like $25 for the Gameduino, that's impressive.
Yeah, I found the Gameduino 2. Oh
no, that's not the same thing. No,
it's not the same thing. So I'm looking for the. Yeah, it's not on eBay.
Oh, there's a vendor that sells them. I'm just not able to find it right now. Let's see.
That's fine. We don't have to.
No.
I think if it's going to be less than $100 combined, I think that's a good.
Well, on
target.
eBay, you can get a Gameduino for around the $50-$60 mark.
That's Australian dollars, or?
Yes.
Okay.
J-Car, I think, sells them.
Yeah, J-Car, heaps of Arduino stuff.
Yeah. So J-Car have it. Well, on eBay, it's $50 plus $10 postage.
Okay, so Gameduino is $50. That's not bad for a whole graphics and sound and everything else, you know.
But then you've got to add the bus connection to the CoCo and maybe a cartridge case, so it'll be around the $100 mark.
Yeah. So hey, so just out of curiosity, while he's thinking about that, so what do you think about this, Nick? Because you're more of the purist, you're working on the bare metal of the CoCo and its capabilities. What do you think of almost having this super cute computer inside the CoCo?
Well, inside the CoCo.
Well, cool, you know what I mean, but it's a supercomputer attached to the CoCo.
Yeah, attached. I think it's a good idea. I mean, I've always liked the idea of an add-on cartridge to boost the capabilities of the CoCo. For me, though, it's also a case of, well, how many people actually own one, or will own one, and will it therefore be worth the month's worth of time to develop a game for it? To sell, to that market. At the moment, of course, 0 people have it. So
right.
But yeah, we don't know. It depends on how well the product gets picked up. If you get 50 people sell it, well, then I could say, well, I've got a potential market for 50 copies of any game I write for it.
Sure. But you're not opposed to it. You're not so much of a purist where you say, well, this is no longer vintage if we're adding Arduino and FPGA to our CoCo.
Well, it depends on what mode you catch me in.
Okay.
I mean, I like programming the CoCo because it's a retro thing, I program the CoCo. If I program the Arduino, well, the CoCo is less of the retro hardware, I guess. I'm talking to something new. But it's a cool little device. It does give you some pretty good capabilities, better than the Amiga's even does.
Wow.
But yeah, is it retro? I don't know if it's entirely retro. So depending on my mode, if I'm really feeling retro, I probably will say, I probably won't support it. But yeah, it is a cool device though.
Yeah.
Could you imagine a color computer setup costing $800?
Well, we're almost getting there. By the time you add the keyboards, the MPIs, the sound cartridges, the
Give me X.
I've already done that.
and don't forget what the CoCo itself costs. So when you look at all of that,
Yeah.
We could easily get into $1,000 CoCo
Yeah.
setup. Easily.
The only thing I haven't had
And you can buy a cheap PC with a VGA and all that, and for half the price.
Yeah.
Well, it
I
goes
haven't-
back to, you know,
as far as the Gimme X, but that's coming next.
So yeah, I mean, it's like anything else. It's a chicken and an egg. But I think if this product was a turnkey product that was, you know, you just buy it and you plug it in and you can write to it, I think it would probably, because now you don't, it's like what you're doing now, you're creating a graphics engine to handle all your multi-layer scrolling. That stuff already exists. Now you're just going to write to these registers and say, scroll this part and move this sprite. So you're still writing a program in assembly, but you don't have to invent all the wheels. The wheels are there now. You just tell which wheel to turn on and turn off. I think that's intriguing.
It's an interesting project. It is good, yeah.
The CoCo power supply couldn't possibly handle everything. Could it?
That's what you need to work on next, Guru, is you need to work on a updated like 9,000 watt power supply for this thing.
Yeah.
You turn on your CoCo, the lights flicker, you know, but
yeah, the lights
but at least we're at 9,600 baud at that point, so.
Mine's running on batteries at the moment.
So I'm going to pull up something else here. This is not.
Oh wait, there's more.
Yeah.
I'm
just going to let you guys know right now, since I'm not trying to cut you short at all, Mr. Santiago, but we're just going to skip news today, because honestly, everything that we're talking about really has been news, literal news. Like, instead of just rehashing what people can read in Facebook, we're hearing stuff, groundbreaking stuff right now. So I'm not going to do a news segment, but if people have some updates, we'll get into updates after this. But just
has the Guru talked to Ed Snyder before?
I was going to suggest that.
No, I have not. I think I asked him once about. I think I asked him once about a CoCo SD card cartridge once or something, but I don't. Mm-hmm. It's been a while.
You guys would get along.
Yep.
Well, yeah, it's available. You can go to his site, zipsterzone.com, and you can go to the buy section and see all the details on the Mega Mini MPI and all that. And you can see the CoCo SD, see if you're still interested in getting one of those.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm here showing another product, or not a product, but a design.
An MPI.
I'm putting a design together that's more of a tool for me to do debug and development than anything else. The idea is that I need to hook a logic analyzer up when I'm building these new products so that I can guarantee timing and all that stuff. So what I did was I decided to build what in the old days used to be a Y cable, but in this scenario, essentially what I'm going to have is I'm going to have a standard straight 40-pin header that I can plug my analyzer to, and then I'll have two slot connectors, one for the board that I'm working on and the other for my disk controller. And then that way I can be monitoring the bus while I'm running software to make sure that things are working correctly.
So it's like a breakout bus?
Yeah, it's an extender card, right? It's just so that I have some way of plugging more than just my disk controller in and have a way to look at the analyzer, because, when you start hooking up this many analyzer pods up to chips and things, it just becomes a real mess, right?
You need 16 slots.
Yeah, so I've got, I don't know if you can see behind me. We can stop sharing this picture if you want.
Okay, hold on 1 second.
I was going to ask you whether there was a logic analyzer sitting behind it.
So back there, I've got a logic analyzer and a digital scope and frequency counter, and that's just some of my equipment. This is my crown jewel here. This is any developer should have one of these. This is a Rigol scope, and
it has knobs and buttons. It's got to be good.
It does. It does a really good job. I also have a Tektronix analog scope in there. So but the idea is that once I get this board done, I'm going to need to look at it and make sure that there are no timing violations and things of that nature.
Which Tektronix do you have, out of curiosity?
Hold on just a second.
7000 series? Or?
No, it's 2445A.
Okay.
2445A.
Right.
I don't know if you can see that, but
yep.
And
yep. Can't go wrong with the Tektronix. I've got a couple of 7603s here. I've got one with a DSO 7D20 module and another one with 2 analog dual 200 megahertz.
Paul Barton used to work at the factory.
So that's a 4-channel 100 megahertz scope, and it was my go-to scope until I got the Rigel. The Rigel's nice because you just punch in a code and it enables all the features, 4 channels at 100 megahertz. It's a gigasample, so it's a good scope for anything that I need to do here.
So does that ladder go up into another lab?
No, that's there because I had to change the battery in the fire detector the other day.
Oh, okay.
And it was useful because I had to climb up there and get my headphones today, but they haven't used them in so long that the foam is degraded on them. So, so those are the projects that I have that I'm working on for the color computer.
Wow.
And
so do you have very little sleep? How do you manage your time?
No. Like I said, I work a full-time job and then I do this as my hobby. So, I don't do much more than come home and play with computers, and that's about it. So
what's the best way to get a Guru Modem?
Get a Guru Modem. Hold on, wait. You're asking that question. I'm going to show you right now.
Can I purchase it online?
I'm going to show you right now.
I think QVC is having a special this week. So,
where are you at in the country?
He's in
you get
Texas.
them from Radio Shack in Texas.
Carlos is in Texas. Yeah, it's a very Texas-based show today.
Yeehaw!
Carlos Santiago, Radio Shack.
Should contact the Radio Shack and see if they'll sell it, because it suits not just the Tandy.
Yeah, it'll fit any vintage machine.
There would be a market there.
There's where you go if you want to buy a modem.
Guru Modem.
Okay. Oh, I have seen it on. I actually have a. I think I'm one of those 13 people watching it.
Yes. You just click your button and I'll ship it out. But I'll tell you right now.
What's the name of your store on eBay so we don't get a cheap knockoff?
I'm down to 2. I'm down to 2 right now. I'm gonna have to build a bunch more. So if you're gonna want one, you gotta place your order, or you're gonna have to wait.
2 left.
Yeah.
That is it. Carlos says that with peace and love.
Peace and love. Peace and love. That's any orders after today will
He's
get
got too much to do.
I have too much to do. Yes.
So just an FYI, just so you guys know, I build my products here. I don't send them out to be built.
Yeah, that was the next question, as to whether or not you had, 100 people in the back room back there.
No. What I do is I normally, when I build a product, I normally purchase enough boards to build, say, 50. And then I build, say, 10 of them. And when my stock starts getting low, then I order again and I build 10 more.
Are frying pans involved when you're putting these things together?
Excuse me?
Are you using any frying pans when you put these things together?
No, sir. I've got an IR oven.
Okay.
And I use a solder stencil that I purchased when I purchased the boards.
What's the thing behind you?
What's the thing behind me? Which thing?
The white thing.
The white thing behind me. There?
Yeah.
Okay, on the left is my printer and the paper for my printer, and then to the right is a 3D printer.
So you can print your own cases.
Well, I could, but I don't know. I've had only like a couple of people ask about cases. It's just the effort to go do the design and print them out and then make them. I can only print in PLA, and a lot of people want, other types of plastics, so it's not that great a thing. But
there's some in our group that do it.
Yeah, but if you're using a different material, it's better. PLA is not that great. It's okay for a one-off, but if you're going to try to mass produce things, it's not the right material. So
I have a question. It's not relating to CoCos, but something that grabbed my attention when you were doing your intro right at the beginning of the segment. The space shuttle launching computers.
Yes.
What CPUs were they based on?
Okay, so these were computers made by a company called Modular Computer Systems, ModComp. They were fully custom 16-bit computers. Later we did 32-bit, but the early ones were custom designed using what's known as a bit slice processor. So in the industry back in the early 70s, a lot of the computers were designed using, they were designed around a chip called 74181 ALU, and that chip became the center of the CPU. Later designs were based on a chip designed by AMD called the 2901 bit slice. It's essentially an ALU with registers, and you take and you stack 4 or 8 of these together to end up with either a 16 or a 32-bit CPU. And then you build around it control logic that lets it interpret the instruction set for the processor. So you end up having a ROM essentially that controls all the circuits in the machine, and there's a function that is read in from memory that allows you to decode what came from memory into an instruction, and then that instruction is used to generate what's known as a micro address. That micro address feeds these ROMs that then control all the muxes and circuitry and provide the proper code to the ALU to execute the instructions. So it was all done discreetly. Later, all of this was then shrunk down into ASICs made by Motorola. When I worked at Gould, that's the way the CPUs were designed. So,
and they were hardened, right, to be used in spaceflight, or?
No. These were not used in spaceflight. They were used in pre-launch.
Oh,
space shuttle launch.
I mean, on the towers and stuff, or in the
no.
support?
So what happens is when they were launching the space shuttles at T-minus 30 seconds, I think it is, all of the checkout and all of the processing necessary to prepare for the launch was completed by the computers I worked on. And then from that point on, they switched over to a set of IBM computers that then managed the launch all the way up to T-0, and the launch would start. So the computers that I worked on were used for monitoring of process and control of the space shuttle.
What, propellants and stuff, or?
Yeah, just making sure that all of the things that have to happen in sequence were happening in real time.
Okay.
There's a lot going on. Huh? What's that?
O-ring temperature sensors.
The O-ring sensor?
So that was a joke.
No. So for example, right? I mean, these when they go to launch the space shuttle, they don't just sit there with all of the fuel loaded and all those things in place to launch until it's necessary. And so there's a sequence that they go through to actually get ready to do a launch, right? They don't want to have the space shuttle sitting there on the platform for a day or two with, filled with fuel, and, all kinds of weird things could happen. So all of that stuff happens in sequence right up to the point where the launch takes off to get the thing up in the air. And so the steps taken to do all of that work, to manage, all the measurements and calibrations and checks that have to go on before the shuttle launch, they were being done by these computers I worked on.
Wow.
Oh, very
cool.
Yeah. And they were used in other places too, behind the scenes. Besides the Kennedy Space Center, they were used in at NASA Langley, where they did top secret stuff for the government. They were used. I worked on a system that got shipped out to control a nuclear power plant up in Maine. They were used in some cases for the process at Alcoa Aluminum for the smelting of aluminum. They were used in a bunch of different process capacities at different companies. When I worked for Gould, I worked on a system that was a multi-processor based system that had in one standard chassis would have 2 CPUs with up to 16 megabytes of memory, and then you could put 8 of these into a rack, and the console for that computer was an Amiga 500 computer where you could open a window up for the console on each CPU, and then we had about 20 of these racks connected together, and they were used by McDonnell Douglas for doing simulation.
Wow, supercomputing, almost like a mini Cray or something, huh?
Yeah. So, and those machines back then were rated at about 5 MIPS or so for a single CPU. The next generation of that computer was a CPU that was made up of 18 boards, and it was about 10 MIPS machine. And
so you sound pretty serious that you know all this stuff. So how much of this comes from, alien tech? You always hear
alien technology.
Area 51.
There's no alien tech. What I can tell you, though, is that the technology that we have today, there aren't many people that understand it, because in order to develop the computers that we have today, it takes teams of thousands of people to develop. Even if you're talking about just a CPU from Intel, it's thousands of people involved, where when I started out and there was a team of maybe 10 engineers working on a computer, later it got more complicated. So for example, I worked on the arithmetic accelerator project for a supercomputer at Dell, and that was not Dell, at Gould, and that computer had the ability of doing what's known as vector processing. And that computer, when we were done, we were able to do about 54 MIPS worth of processing at that time, and that was in the mid-90s. But then shortly after that technology came out, Intel came out with like their 486, which could do basically the same kind of thing on a single chip.
Yeah.
So you go from a super mini computer that has a CPU that costs $400,000 to a desktop computer that maybe cost you $4,000, and you can quickly see, how the demise of that technology happens. And now, today, all of our supercomputers are based on these processors that are probably 1,000 times faster than what I worked on back in the day, and then they're putting thousands of these in racks in a data center. Right. So it's amazing that the technology has advanced this far. But as I said earlier, there isn't one person that can sit down and tell you how those chips work or how to deal with a problem, because they're so complex. They really are.
A lot of development gone behind it from a lot of years, and a lot of combined technology.
Yeah. I mean, it used to be I could sit down and I can work on one of these computers and tell you which chip in the computer, which happens to have, hundreds of boards with, 500 to 1,000 chips per board, which chip was bad, and fix it, right? Those days are gone, right? These days, if something's broken, it's either a dead processor or your motherboard is dead, and you just swap it out. There's no way to fix it.
Yeah. Yes. Interesting background. Really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if people were to storm Area 51, they wouldn't find anything that we need to worry about, that whole Storm 51 movement?
Well, I don't know. You're going to probably have to talk to someone like Bill Gates or somebody like that, right? I mean, anybody that's out there in the New Mexico area or something might know. But
right. I mean, it's no secret that what the civilian sector gets is usually, a generation behind what the private sector has, and especially in government and military and science. So you guys are pioneering things that become mainstream. Although it sounds like in the Intel story, it almost sounds like the reverse happened, where a civilian product actually leapfrogged your private sector product. But I would imagine even now the government has technology that we would not fathom, and 5 years from now it'll be in our cell phone. So.
Right. So what I will tell you is that the issue that we had in the 70s and the 80s creating computers was that we just didn't have the ability of making things smaller, right? It was just not possible. And I think that the advances in miniaturization is really what's made the big difference. So to give you an example, right, the first man on the moon, the only reason that was successful was because TI made the integrated circuit. And those chips that were made by TI would cost in single quantity $600 a piece. But for that program, they were able to bring the price down to $60 a piece.
Wow.
Okay, so just by the sheer need of the technology, they were able to bring the price down. And that's what's been happening since the 80s to now, is that every year we double or triple or quadruple the capabilities, but we still maintain the same price. So if you look at, say, the last 20 years of PCs, every year your computer would double in speed, but the price would stay the same. It wouldn't get any higher.
Yeah. What's that called? Is there some kind of a scale?
Moore's Law was the processing one. Yeah.
Moore's Law effectively said that in every 2.5 years you would double the capability. So whether it be the number of transistors or the speed, but the cost comes about by the fact that you can then build things smaller and they cost less, and you can make more of them.
Has that ended?
The price comes down.
Has that ended?
Moore's Law?
Moore's Law, yes. Yes, it has ended in the technical sense, but what's happening now is that people are finding other ways of using the technology the way it is today, rather than the way Moore's Law worked was, let's make it smaller and let's make it faster. Well, shrinking things isn't working anymore. We're close to probably 1 or 2 generations away to where the shrinking of circuitry won't work anymore. It was thought that 7 nanometer would probably be the limit, and AMD is doing that these days, and so is NVIDIA. But I think once they get to about 3 nanometer, they're not going to go any further. And to get there, they probably have to do 2 more generations of shrink for the integrated circuits to get to that level. And the technology is not there to do that today. That's
when we're going to need the alien tech to help us.
When you get to those levels, you have to find other ways, right?
Yeah,
and that's what's happening.
Wasn't there a problem with motherboard wiring, and being that the chips were so fast that you couldn't get circuits to travel back and forth, or it would harmonize or something?
Right. So as you go faster in speed when you design these circuits, these boards that we build here, they're made up of woven glass and epoxy. Okay. So essentially the glass epoxy does this, right? And what happens is that when you send a signal across that epoxy, if it's slow, it doesn't know it's there. But the faster the signal, the worse it gets, and it feels like when you're driving down a bumpy road, right? So you're going to hear the car jumping up and down. Same thing happens with the electronic signals at that level. And so they get affected by that. And the more of that rough road environment that the signal goes through, the slower it has to go to be able to get to where it needs to be. So new materials are being made that reduce the difference between the glass and the epoxy, so that it's more of a smoother ride for the signals. But those materials cost a lot more money. So you're in a battle with, technology getting faster and trying to push the costs down, but then the material costs start going back up again. And so you have to weigh the trade-offs between, shall I go faster in my chips and then pay more for my board, or do I not go as fast in my chips so that the cost of my board stays low?
Okay, I have one last question. Is your wife an app, or is she a real person?
I'm happy to say that she's a real person, and we've been married for 38 years. And yeah, so she's very understanding of my hobby, and
that's important.
Not a big deal. So
yeah, that's something else. Wow.
Hey, Carlos, you mentioned all the source code being available, and I saw the GitHub with the hardware design stuff. Do you have the firmware and the software code, source code available?
For what specifically?
For this Guru Modem?
Is the source code publicly available? Dave Phillipson's asking about that. I pointed him to your GitHub, but that only has hardware stuff. So,
okay, so
I guess he's just wanting to look at that.
I don't have a GitHub.
Oh, sorry.
And if he wants the firmware for the modems, then he can go to sourceforge.net/projects/ZI modem.
Okay.
All right. And then if he also wants to go further, he can just do a search for GitHub space. How would it be? GitHub space C64net. Let me just double check it. Hold on.
Yeah, let me. You said sourceforge.net/project/guru modem.
No, /ZI modem.
ZI modem.
Yeah.
Oh, for the bow for.
Yeah. So the GitHub for Bo Zimmerman is github.com. Bo Zimmerman, all one word, is the I modem. Tree master ZI modem, and that's where he dumps the code. So there's several places. It's not like it's hidden anywhere. If you need it, you can find it.
What about the Linux shell? Is that something that's
part of that firmware?
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah, it's built in there. All you have to do is look at the code and try to figure out where in the code it says AT plus shell. AT plus shell is the command that you issue to get into that mode. And so that portion of the code should have all the shell commands.
I don't know what happened there. My phone battery died.
Oh, and just an FYI, if you try to get into the shell without a card, you'll get an error. And usually you need to power off and power back on to get the modem to go and check the card, okay? Just so you're aware.
So how do you power those cards?
You just use a power adapter that, like what you would use for a Raspberry Pi.
Okay.
And I will caution you that there have been people who've bought adapters and their cables are loose. I can't control the connector that they use on their adapter, unfortunately.
All right.
sometimes it requires you to purchase either an adapter that you just use a USB cable for, and then get a higher quality USB cable.
Are there other studs that stick up that you can put voltage in?
No, sir.
No.
We only support the micro USB. I'm thinking that in the future I might go with a different way of connecting, but the problem is that the two main choices right now are a barrel connector or a USB connector.
The USB is like such a smaller footprint.
Well, it depends, right? If I use a micro USB, it's a small print, but if I use a regular USB connector, it's a larger print. So, this connector here, which is on an Arduino, okay, is probably the best one to use right here for USB.
Yeah.
And then this is the barrel connector that you would use for power on an Arduino. So I would prefer one of these two over the micro one that I used, but the focus on using the micro connector was to make it easier for people to procure a power adapter, right? So,
and how many watts or amps should it be?
Usually a standard Raspberry Pi adapter that's 2 amps is more than adequate. I've run it with less power. The modem itself uses about 200 milliamps, maybe. So, but when you're transmitting, it can use more. So my recommendation is using something that's at least an amp or 2 amps for the power adapter. And if you get something that's made for a Raspberry Pi, then it should have the amount of current capability that's needed.
All right. Well, I just I know we're going on coming up to 3.5 hours, so I just wanted to see if anybody else had anything they wanted to talk about today as far as updates. I think David O'Connor said he might have wanted to do something. I don't know if Nick Marentes, did you have any updates you wanted to share with us on Gunstar or anything else?
Oh, we can leave it for next week.
Okay, and David, I know at the top of the show you mentioned you might want to update something about what you talked about last week with your control stuff.
Yeah, I just had a little quick update. Nothing too lengthy. That little live demonstration that we did last week, it got me really inspired, and I sort of got the idea of recording a new song using the setup. Instead of recording a new song, I've actually started a whole new album. I'm going to make the whole new album based on the TRS-80, controlling my analog synths, and I've recorded the first song for it already, 15 minutes long. I've shot video for it. I was hoping to actually have the video edited by tonight, but I should have the video edited and up there during the week. And first song for this album has come together, and there's a whole new album. I'm probably going to call it CoCo Music. Yeah, spell it M-U-S-I-K, as in the German spelling of music. CoCo Music, like Tangerine Dream style, late 70s sort of. So last week's episode was very productive.
Excellent. And I see Joe Burnett's got a Radio Shack bag there.
Oh, yes. I wonder what's inside.
It looks like he's got shirts.
Wow. A bunch of shirts.
Oh, very cool.
Might be more than that.
Wow. Is there a CoCo 4 in there?
No, unfortunately not. Too bad.
Batteries, battery club card.
Batteries?
You know what? I busted.
What did those guys think of the exposure, the interview and stuff?
You know, I mean, they were great. And I stayed in there probably 30 minutes after I got off there and just talked to them. And there's so much folklore. You know, this is the area where Tandy's main offices were. And yeah, I mean, we talked about so much. I mean, I hate to misquote, but I guess the guy who opened the first store that sold the Tandy computers back in like 1980 was at the grand opening this week.
Wow.
So yeah, and there were so many, and what he mentioned he didn't get to talk about, where there's so many people who used to work for Radio Shacks or for Tandy that showed up this week. So they had an amazing turnout. Their heart's in the right place. I mean, obviously a business, wants to make money, but you can just tell the passion that they have for the STEM projects for the hobbyists. And yeah, I mean, they're really receptive to the ideas, talking about like the display, having the retro computers in the display. We got to talking about, well, it'd be great to, like, at Christmas time have a monitor in the window and show, like some of the demos, like in the demo scene, used to be a long time.
Yeah.
But, maybe have a contest for people to create, a Christmas or holiday themed demo, to put in, the window for people to see, like when they're closed, something like that, and run it on old hardware. Yeah, exactly. Run it on an old hardware. That was, exactly.
Yeah, well, Simon Jonasson has one of a naked woman that bounces up and down. Would that work?
Yeah, that got us in trouble, didn't it?
Yeah, those guys were awesome, though. That was really good.
Yeah, I mean, I was really impressed, and it's great. I'll definitely be back. And
do they know about CoCoTALK and all that stuff?
They do, and in fact, when I went in there and talked to them beforehand, they pulled it up on the computer. So when I was doing the tour of the store at the very beginning, they were back there watching. So
and they still talk to us.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But they didn't know how widespread across the world that it was. I mean, they were really surprised to hear that there were individuals from Australia and from Canada. They have one person, and they were of course asking me what parts of Canada or the Canadians that are on here from, but they have one individual that works up there full time still, out of a home office. So I've got the guy's email address. I'll find out. I'm
just gonna say I'm from Ottawa, and in Ottawa there's this little town called Canada, which is part of Ottawa, and it's like the high-tech capital of Canada. Like, we've got all kinds of big presents here for like Apple. Well, Apple's coming, and BlackBerry and QNX and all kinds of
all of that.
All kinds of self-driving cars are being tested up here. So it'd be a really good location for high tech.
Yeah, and he mentioned, if we can find out like your location or wherever, and if this gentleman's in the same, area or town, maybe getting y'all to hook up, and meet in person, kind of just to foster that relationship. So, I mean, it turned out really good. It was beyond my expectations.
Yeah, I was
They
beyond
great.
thrilled. I honestly, we had no idea what to expect other than a walk around, but we got so much more. Not only did we get the tour, but we got to talk to some of the key folks involved, and to, like you say, to hear their passion and their dedication to what I think was the spirit of the old Radio Shack, which was stimulating people into wanting to do something in electronics or technology. I think most of us here were stimulated by that, and hopefully if future generations are as well, and maybe a resurgence in, people doing something other than working at Walmart,
Yeah, and there were a lot of kids in the store. That was
Yeah.
always cool too. There were a lot of kids that came in while I was there. So
I think the Guru guy has a problem with it.
No, he's gonna get all his Guru Modem parts now from Radio
Yeah.
Shack, so he's got a local source. He's in Texas, so.
But their main philosophy is baby steps. I mean, just like they were mentioning, they didn't go out and open 100 stores at once. And really, like you were talking, that starting out at the very slowly, kind of building that momentum, getting that enthusiasm going. I think it's going to be successful for them. I hope it's successful for them.
Yeah.
I would go to soldering classes and stuff for sure. Like, I think that's a really great idea.
Hey, Joe, that thing behind you in the car, is that an R2D2?
Follow him home.
Does Guru have to leave? Guru, are you having to leave us?
Yes, it's time.
All right. Listen, well, thank you for being here. And I know we held off on you for a while, but hopefully we got a chance to. What is your website again? Electronics is Fun, or
electronicsisfun.com.
Electronicsisfun.com. So if you guys want to keep in touch with what our guru friend is doing here. And now that you know how to reach us on Zoom, we do this every Saturday. So whenever you want to pop in and give us an update, please do. You don't need an invitation. Just pop in. We're here for several hours and once a week. So
sounds great.
Yeah, love to hear what goes on with your projects. Like I say, a lot of us are into a lot of different systems besides the CoCo. So keep us up to date on anything you're doing in the world of retro for sure.
All right, we could have a special part for you. Says like, why did the guru do this?
Well, something that might be of interest is that I'm working on a non-computer related project right now.
Oh, we're not interested in that.
You're not.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So actually, two things. One is I'm working with a buddy of mine on an Arduino-based audio synthesizer.
I'm interested.
And then I'm also doing some research on developing an old school analog synthesizer using just electronic circuits, so voltage control amplifiers, voltage control filters, voltage control oscillators, the works. So I'm playing around with building something in that area. Don't have anything right now. Oh my God, look at that! Wow, that's awesome.
I was just going to say, Gary, before you go, I don't know if you've seen.
Oh, look at that! Look at that! Wow, modular synthesizers and everything. That's awesome.
Yeah, a lot of it's I've built it, the module has been a project I'm building myself as well, controlling it from a CoCo. So very interested in what you're doing there. Very, very interested in that.
Yeah. So when I get something that's working, I'll get on and show it to you guys.
Excellent.
Great.
Interest, I don't know, but
you're on Discord now too, and we have a lot of different channels in Discord. So if you want to have people pick your brain or ask questions or drop things in, we've got a lot of different channels in Discord under hardware and TTL modems and all that kind of stuff. So
cool.
That'd be very cool. Well, thanks for joining us today, Mr. Guru Santiago, and thank you, Rob Inman, for inviting him.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you, Carlos. Really appreciate
Had a great time.
Excited.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
See ya.
Yeah, what a great show. So we had the Radio Shack feed, and so Joe, you're still basking in the glory of being there, right?
Oh yeah. It was awesome. I'll be back, and I mean, the best thing you can say about them is they're genuine. I mean, and they have a lot of excitement about what they're doing as well, and I let them know that we were also excited. So yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be hopefully will be a chance for some cross-pollination there with them sharing their information with us, as well as us keeping them updated on our projects. I mean, they were really impressed with all of the hardware and software projects that the community was doing.
Has anyone got a CoCo to donate to them for a while to put as a window display in the shop?
It's a good idea.
Yeah, have a CoCo there, especially over Christmas. That could be running the Christmas demo.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Real retro feel.
Joe, have you been a CoCo user yourself?
My best friend had one, and we spent hours and hours on it. As in my childhood. So I mean, I've spent a lot of time on them, but I don't have one. I don't have one right now. But let me put another suggestion. I mean, even if one of you has a shell of one, put a Raspberry Pi in there and run the MAME emulator.
The RetroPie. Yeah.
Yeah, and in that way, I mean, it may not be a functioning CoCo, but the effect is there.
Yeah.
So it's the same effect.
That's not a bad idea. Yeah.
I'm sure between everybody, maybe somebody like Carlos Camacho, maybe he might have a spare one that he could donate or something like that. He's always coming across CoCo ones.
Yeah, I'm sure between all of us we can come up with a CoCo for sure. We'll work on that. Yeah, that might be something to do. Like if that might make a cool episode where we plan it, where we like one of us drives up there and brings the CoCo and gives it to him, and then we make that a part of the stream and everything else. That would be really cool.
That'd be very cool. Put it on the show. Yeah.
So many possibilities.
CoCo Fest West.
CoCo Fest West. Well, there's a bunch of people in California. There's, we got people in Texas. So we have a consortium out there.
Well, there's a lot. I mean, and that's what we talked about too. After I got off the stream, there's a lot of those Tandy and Radio Shack alumni here. And there's a lot of that folklore.
You think there's still a CoCo club running back there somewhere?
They mentioned there's some sort of Tandy group that meets somewhere around here like every month. And I mean, I have no idea what it is, so I'm gonna have to find out more information about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should tune into us.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know how many people will. I mean, surprisingly, I thought we would have had a little bit larger viewership today. On a good day, we've got like 30 people watching us. We were about.
When did we advertise for it? Like an hour or two?
An hour ahead of time. Yeah,
well,
anyways, but hopefully on the replay, some more people will see this, because I think more people are interested in Radio Shack than just coconuts. So anybody who's into electronics or vintage things or radios or CBs or stereo, any of that stuff. So hopefully more people will watch us later on, because I think it was a great treat to not only see the store but to talk to these guys.
Hey Steve,
yeah.
When you do this show, maybe you should send it over to All Things Radio Shack.
I did share the event to All Things Tandy and Radio Shack. So, but again, like you say, it was about an hour before the show when I did that. So, hopefully in the replay people will see this, because I think the interest of this is bigger than just CoCo.
Yeah, I was going to say there's always the replay. People can come back and watch it.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't see what else we can do to really top what we just had here today. So we probably need to start wrapping it up. But
we can wait till next week on some of the photos and stuff that I have.
Oh yeah, that's right. I'm sorry, I completely forgot about that. But yeah, definitely want to do that. And maybe later on tonight we can do something. We talk about it, and sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. But definitely, Joe Burnett, can't thank you enough for coming up with the idea and making it happen, and having it being better than we could have ever expected.
I had a lot of fun. It was, I can't express that enough. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and thank you, Rob Inman, for reaching out to Guru Santiago for this.
Hey, Joe, let us know how the Radio Shack underwear work out.
They're huggers.
Did they have Radio Shack beach balls when back in the
beach
day?
balls, the inflatable beach balls? Yeah, those were fun.
Well, the underwear for Steve. I don't know why you're asking me about.
I'd like to thank the state of Texas today for sponsoring our show.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And Guru Santiago, great man. This guy's had a really interesting career in electronics.
Yeah, I had doubts about his name until he started talking.
Yeah. He's a guru.
Yeah.
I missed out. What part of Texas does he live in? Is he down in Houston?
I think it says on his website he's in Round Rock.
Oh, okay. Closer to Austin. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know where Round Rock is.
I was a Texan for 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. This new Radio Shack store, that's in Dallas, yeah?
Yeah. Keller. It's north of Fort Worth. And of course, Dallas, Fort Worth, there are all these different suburbs and towns, but you can't tell when one ends and one starts. It's all,
until you pulled over by a cop and then
right
be on the ticket.
That's exactly. Yeah.
So
a specific town comes to mind.
It's basically back. It's in the vicinity of where Radio Shack first started. Then really.
Yeah, and if you look at the article, this apparently was this area was their most profitable store, most popular store, so that's why they decided to go with that.
Yeah, and the Facebook group is called Keller Radio Shack, or Radio Shack Keller.
Yeah,
I'll look for it when we're done, because I'm definitely going to want to join the group, and we're going to share the replay to the group so people can see it.
Post a link to it in your I'm a Coconut and the Terrace 80 group.
Yeah, we'll do that for sure. Yeah.
I wonder if those guys would be interested in watching CoCo Forever. What do you think of that, Tandy taking over the world?
Oh yeah, with the towers and everything.
I bet that is an interesting question. Yeah. we'll have to. Well, Joe's our liaison, so we'll have to.
Well, we're still in the episode. Do you want to run the commercial so we'll see it?
We can do that. We can do
Take
that.
a CoCo Forever break. And
We're going to play us out here. I got to find it right now. CoCo Forever. All right, so here we go.
Hey, have you got your CoCo 3 yet? Hi, this is Rick Adams, author of Temple of Ram and Shanghai, and you've tuned into CoCoTALK, the nation's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy color computer.
What's going on, everybody? Original Gamer Stevie Stroh here, and if you're a fan of vintage computing and retro gaming, then you're going to love our retro swag shop at 8bit256.com. There you will find custom designs by Instagram artist Joel M. Adams. You can get I'm a Coconut, CoCoTALK, and other cool video game images on a t-shirt, coffee mug, or mouse pad. So if you love retro, then head on over to the retro swag shop at 8bit256.com today. Tell them the Original Gamer Stevie Stroh sent you.
The Radio Shack TRS-80 put the world of color computing into your home. Instant loading program packs turn any color TV into an exciting game arcade. And there's more. The color computer is an educational aid, a home management tool, an up-to-the-minute electronic information service. The programmable, expandable TRS-80 color computer from $399 only at Radio Shack, the biggest name in little computers.
Hi, I'm Bruce Moore, and this is Jacob Moore. Gotcha. And we are the Forest of Doom guys, and the CoCo Forever guys, and we are CoCo Fest, and we love Stevie Stroh.
Imagine a different world. A world where Tandy Corporation has the upper hand. Where the CoCo surpassed all competitors. And all you have to do is travel back in time without making a single mistake. CoCo Forever.
How does it feel? I'm still believing.
You definitely earned this office.
Yes, you're too kind, and thank you.
You want to grab some food before we head back and look at that Alt Reality OS9 module?
It's only 40 years past due, but yeah, sure.
How does it feel? I'm still believing. Radio Shack, America's technology store.
Computer shopping has never been better at Radio Shack. Here's proof. Our new ultra-high-performance 386SX 20 megahertz computer with 85 megabyte hard drive, only $12.99. And it's from Tandy, manufacturer of the best-selling PC compatibles in America. Or get a 286-based Tandy home office computer with color monitor and hard drive, only $899.95. Shop your friendly nearby Radio Shack. Great selection, superior service. Nobody compares.
We now return you to CoCoTALK.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the was it called Radio Shack Keller or Keller Radio Shack on Facebook. I'm trying to find their Facebook page, so we'll find it and we'll post it.
Yeah, I couldn't find it. Yeah.
So we'll find it and we'll post it. We'll post it in the I'm a Coconut group in the Facebook group on the CoCoTALK page. We're gonna find that page and we're gonna share links to this episode in their group.
What about
so
the Back to the 80s one?
Yeah.
You haven't played that yet.
No, I think we're overstaying our welcome at this point right now. Yeah. But yeah, this has been a really good show, and I want to thank everybody. It's starting to sound like Ed Sullivan. A really good show. Got a great show for you. A really good show, right? So, yeah. No, I mean, what can you say, man? I don't know how we do it. You know, having a VCF. Not only do we have VCF West as an episode, but then we had the Sunday. We had like 8 hours of live streaming from VCF West on a Sunday. You know, and bringing Radio Shack, and now hearing about new products for the CoCo, like a Guru Modem and sprites and real-time clocks, all kinds of stuff.
This episode deserves an Emmy.
It does deserve an Emmy. It really does. This episode, it feels like we've won an Emmy, if you ask me. So it's amazing. So I'm going to give you guys all a big pat on the back. So no, man, what do you do? What do you do? I don't even know what to do. It's like pinch me, put a fork in me. But yeah, no, this has been great. Thank you, Joe. Can't thank you enough. Thank you, Rob Inman. Thank you, David O'Connor, for giving us great content last week. What I love about this show is that I just kind of show up every week and magic happens, and it's just the planets align and things happen and it's great. It's
no blue screen on your computer.
No blue screen this time. Yeah. So
yeah, we love when you show up too, Stevie.
Yeah. Well, it's like magic.
Yeah.
Every time we do this show, it's just like magic. It's the fairy dust in the air. I really wish David Ladd was here today because we talked so much about frickin' modems and TTL and RS-232. I just could hear David Ladd, in the back of my head, drive wire, TTL, RS-232. So
yeah, we were talking about file transfer, so he would have definitely jumped in on that.
Not much about disk drives, though.
Yeah. So. Anyways, yeah, so let's wrap it up. Possibility, I'm sure my family's probably getting hungry. They might want to have dinner. It's getting close to 6 p.m. for me. I'm starving. So possibility of maybe an after show tonight because there's a lot of things we didn't talk about, and I don't want to beat this show to death for too long. But I want to thank everybody for today. I want to thank everybody for every week that we come together, people on the panel, the people in the audience. It's definitely a shared community experience, and thanks guys for making this show awesome every single week. Can't thank you all enough. Nick Marentes, any parting thoughts?
No, I keep my thoughts to a minimum.
Rob Inman,
I have to say Nick Marentes was a lot nicer to Carlos Santiago than
he was to the 8-bit guy. Yes.
Profile picture, new
There's
attitude.
a gun to my head now.
Yeah.
Completely different neck.
Who's gonna develop for that crop?
I believe the 8-bit guy retired after he appeared on CoCoTALK. No one's ever seen him again.
In tears.
So,
Mission accomplished.
Nick Marotta, any parting thoughts?
This was a really awesome show. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
This was just fantastic. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah. Joe Burnett, thank you so much. Parting thoughts.
Great day, great experience. Yeah, I mean, I had more fun than I could possibly imagine. So.
Yeah, how long have you been watching the show? You've been watching for a while, right?
Yeah, I mean, I signed off the Zoom meeting and stood in there probably 30, 45 minutes.
No, but I mean, in general, how long have you been watching CoCoTALK as a show? Like, it's been a while now, right?
Yeah, 3 or 4 months at least. I mean, I just go to the YouTube streaming site and watch it. But yeah, I'll try to start showing.
How long have you been sitting in the Radio Shack parking lot?
Are there police surrounding you?
I don't want to leave
until they hire him.
Yeah.
He's been there for 3 days already.
Just buy a polo, show up, and pretend you work there.
Start working, start selling people stuff. Let me tell you about the CoCo and why it's so awesome. I'll tell you about the 6809 and all these registers that it has.
These PCs, they'll never last. Here's what you know.
I would like to point out that Guru Santiago, Carlos Santiago, has joined Discord. So
yes.
I know there's a lot of chatter going on about the, Dave Phillipson and Scott Wendt, and we're all talking about the Guru Modem. But if you have any more questions, you can at him in Discord.
There you go. Well, Joe, for you definitely have helped create one of the best episodes we've had. So thanks for that, Joe.
Welcome.
Yeah, and DeBruce, we haven't heard a lot from you, but you've been here on and off. How you doing there, DeBruce?
I'm good. I think Joe deserves an Emmy.
Yes, you do. Yes, you deserve an Emmy.
The one we submit for approval for consideration.
The Emmy goes to Joe Burnett. All right.
Yeah. No, I just sadly I arrived just I guess as the tour ended. So as soon as you get off this stream, I'm gonna go rewind and catch it all.
There you go. Hit rewind. Be kind and rewind. David O'Connor with your Maine Coon cat there. Any parting thoughts?
What can I say? We're one step closer to CoCo forever, I think. We just need to get some CoCo products in this Radio Shack store, and we're close.
Imagine if
No,
you could
great
go
show.
back
Thoroughly
in
enjoyed
time.
it.
Yeah. And Grant Leedy's had a lot to say today.
No comment. No comment.
Grant, you driving a Radio Shack right now, Grant?
I think you ran a stop
Yeah,
sign.
I'm on my way down to Texas right now.
Police, I think you just ran a stop sign.
Yeah. It reminds me. This is like me playing Grand Theft Auto right now. Looking at Grant's window right now.
And how many weeks until VCF Midwest?
Oh,
It is 1 month.
1 month
Exactly.
away.
Okay, 4 weeks away. So
Wow, that's
For
great.
the
we have
biggest
some work to
computer
do.
show in the United States.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to my quality snuggle time with Grant. So
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I hate to inform you, Stevie, that I got a king size bed and you're not allowed.
Now,
That's not a
it's
pillow.
That's not a pillow.
It's not a pillow. By the way, if you Google VCF space hyphen Midwest, the second response is, how does VCF contraceptive film work?
Oh,
So
okay. Well,
I don't know what that's all about, but apparently VCF stands for many things.
Okay. Well, yeah, pretty much a vintage computer trade show is probably the best form of birth control ever.
And the retro computers.
Very few conceptions take place at these events. So.
Mark D. Overholser might be an exception to the rule.
A lot of you guys
You
are
know,
married, though, so I don't know how that happened.
Ron
9 months
Delvaux.
from now, there'll be no.
Yeah, all the CoCo Fest babies that happen, right? 9 months after April, right? So.
And there's the cover.
Ron Delvaux.
A
My
little
son,
color.
MC10.
Well, I'm glad that this guy admitted that there was no alien tech involved. I was happy to hear that.
That was fake news. That's fake news.
Yeah.
That was that's fiber optics.
No, Donald Trump tweeted it already, so we know.
All right.
Excellent. All right, we're gonna put a fork in this episode.
Thank God.
Thank God, yes. We have not had Jim Brain trolling us. And actually, when Guru Santiago was talking about his philosophy of the open source and everything else, that reminded me of what Jim Brain was, how he does his stuff in open source.
No
and everything,
dumpster
too.
fire either.
No dumpster. We had no trolling.
Has
Richard Lobieski as well.
Has Jim Brain retired from trolling?
I don't think so. He's probably getting
He's
ready.
retired from releasing products.
Oh.
Maybe Jim Brain should hook up with the Guru too.
I'm still waiting on my STC extender, Jim Brain. But it's funny though that was the one thing we forgot to bring up, because
You're not the only one waiting. I'm waiting too.
Everybody in the retro community. I mean, you would be so surprised. I'd be talking to the most random person at VCF West, and I go, "Oh, do you know Jim Brain?" "Oh yeah, we know Jim Brain, yeah." So that was the one thing we forgot to ask Carlos today. But I'm sure he does know Jim.
That could be a new
Everybody
segment.
knows Jim, yeah. And because it's heavy breathing time, it's definitely time to play the outro. So we're going to play the outro, and we'll be right back for final thoughts after this. This concludes another episode of CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color computer. For all things CoCoTALK, visit us on the web at CoCoTalk.live. We'd love to hear from you. Send feedback, suggestions, even segments via email to CoCoTalk@CoCoTalk.live.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, 'cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
Consider supporting the show with a purchase of merchandise from our retro swag shop at 8bit256.com. If you'd like to become a patron of the show, click the Patreon link at our website at CoCoTalk.live.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, 'cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
CoCoTALK would not exist without the community, its past, crew, and contributors. Thanks go to Curtis Boyle, David Ladd, Mark Overholzer, Grant Leedy, Bruce Moore, Nick Marentes, Ron Delvaux, Rick Adams, Jason Reichert, Richard Lorbieski, Jim Brain, Tom C., Rob Inman, Mark Bosley, Brian Joyce, Ken Reichert, David O'Connor, Brian Weasler, Terry Steggy, Nick Marotta, John Strong, and many more, especially to Steve Bjork for production suggestions and James Diffendaffer for making my head explode. Please help support the CoCo community by visiting some of its various contributors. A list of resources is available at imacoconut.com. That's IMACOCONUT.com. The CoCoTALK theme song is copyright 2008 by D. Bruce Moore and Greg Sheeler. Mixed, mastered, and produced by D. Bruce Moore.
Hey, Stevie?
Yes.
Do you realize you wear a bigger shirt than me now?
Oh, that's because, yes. All right.
Well, you got triple X, right?
Yeah, it's because my wife does really bad laundry and everything shrinks after she washes
Is
it a
that
few
for
times.
your breast size?
Hey, I have bad news, Steve. Steve, I have bad news.
Oh, yeah?
Uh-oh.
So the largest they had was 2X.
Oh, that's fine.
So, okay.
I usually get them a little bit bigger because they shrink. So usually that's what happens. But no, that's fine, especially in a polo shirt. That's fine.
I thought you were going to say the Radio Shack already went out of business.
Yeah, no. But like in a t-shirt, like t-shirts, they shrink. Like they usually shrink it because size after you've washed them and dried them a few times. That's why I like to get them a little bit.
Only 1X in the underwear.
Yes. All right, great show, everybody. Great show. We got a great show for you, everybody. All right, so final thoughts. Anyone? While you're thinking about that, I'll scroll through and see who we need to thank in our live audience. We've had Steve Powell here. We've had Official Cyrus. Nick Marotta has been in the live chat. Rob Inman, Matchy, and Curtis Boyle has been in there. Steve Powell. Brian Weasler was in the live chat early in the show. Lloyd Thompson. A lot of chatter from Curtis Boyle. We just usually tune him out. Dan Loyal was here.
Yeah.
Rob Inman has been here. Nimble was here earlier. Curtis Boyle, Nick Marotta, Matchy, Curtis Boyle, Fedor was in here. James Jones was here. Rob Inman and DeBruce has been here. And Curtis and Rob and Dave Phillipson in the live chat. Rob Inman, Dave Phillipson. Lots of James Jones and Rob Inman and Explore VR. Ben Drakes has been here. So lots of people have been here. Thanks, guys, for watching. Thank you to our panel, Ron Delvaux, Grant Leedy, David O'Connor, D. Bruce Moore. Very special thanks to Joe Burnett and Nick Marotta, and Rob Inman and Nick Marentes. Earlier we had Mark Bosley with us, and we also had Fedor was on earlier. So it was pretty cool that we were able to bring literally a global panel to Radio Shack where we had Canada, Australia, and Denmark all present in the presence of Radio Shack, just to show them how global the interest is. Very cool stuff. All right, I'm going to press the button. Say goodbye to everybody on the video feed.
Goodbye to everybody on the video feed.
Bye, everybody.
All right, pressing the button on the video feed.